Her grievance is the continued recognition of King Charles III as Australia's head of state, and that is coupled with a demand for a peace treaty in Australia and justice for the country's indigenous Aboriginal peoples. Australia is among 14 countries that form part of what is known as the Commonwealth realms. These are countries where the king remains the head of state, that is the King of England. The British monarch remains the head of state, and that country will then have a prime minister. There are 14 of those countries, but in many of them there's a growing demand for the removal of the king as the head of state and rather have a republican system. In fact, you're seeing a lot of that playing itself out in the Caribbean. So we'll have a conversation about this in our international feature, and I look forward to that. It sort of has echoes and parallels with some of the grievances that many on the African continent hold about the legacy of colonialism, about demands for reparations and restoration of some of the historical losses that occurred during the age of colonialism. So we will have that conversation in about 10 minutes or so. I look forward to that conversation with Professor Roger Southall, who is a renowned historian who will have that conversation with me. In other stories, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, is sailing into somewhat of a diplomatic storm, really. This follows the department coming out now to dismiss suggestions that it is its directive for the Taipei liaison office in Pretoria to be moved to Johannesburg. The department is now rejecting suggestions that is happening at the behest of China. It's a bit of a controversial one. It has stirred a bit of controversy. That office, the Taipei liaison office, has been in Pretoria since then President Nelson Mandela made the decision to basically switch in terms of diplomatic recognition and diplomatic ties, and seek diplomatic ties, formal diplomatic ties with China as opposed to Taiwan. You'll remember that China considers Taiwan but a region of China in line with the One China policy. And I remember seeing somewhere and seeing a video actually of the late former President Nelson Mandela talking about how he had to agonize intensely about this decision to switch the recognition from Taiwan to China. And basically saying that was a difficult decision because in the run-up to the 1994 elections, Taiwan had developed strong relations with the African National Congress. And in fact, the historical archives will show that it provided material support. But I think the words that the then president used was that sometimes you have to take difficult decisions as a leader of the nation in the best interest of your country. And that came about, I think, in 1998. Well, now, Pretoria, that is the government of South Africa, wants the Taipei liaison office to be moved from Pretoria to Johannesburg. We'll have a conversation with the department spokesperson at about 10 to 7 this morning. Another story we're looking at, TikTok, and I'm not talking here about the social media app, but actually the clock is ticking for approximately 6.9 million Eskom customers who are using prepaid meters to recode their meters or else find themselves unable to load electricity vouchers. And that's as soon as Thursday this week. If you are using a prepaid meter box, have you done the recoding? If you haven't, you may run into some serious problems. The power utility is urging its customers to recode the meters to be in line with what is called the Standard Transfer Specification Association. We'll talk to Eskom after 7 a.m. to find out what all of that means and what the implications are. But also we have a strong theme just after 7 on Eskom, including focusing on that application that the utility has put forward for a 36.1% electricity price hike from April 2025. So that's just a sampling of some of the stories that we have lined up for you within the next 3 hours. Of course, all of your regulars as usual, and Musa with news updates every half hour, Rob Byrne with your traffic every 15 minutes or so. We have Zaikan watching your sport throughout the morning. Dauling Lechela has your economics, business and market news covered, and Sipho Mandula with your Africa update just before 8 a.m. Of course, I'm taking your calls throughout the morning, and the number to dial for that is 086 000 2032. I'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. This is SAFM, Conversations That Move Us. The Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, we've spoken about blacklisting, construction mafia. What's the position?
Yes, my good friends. As I've been very clear from the start, anyone that we will not negotiate with criminals. If you come with automatic rifles and come to our sites, disrupt sites, we will not talk to you. If you come peacefully to us, you want to negotiate with us, you want to talk to us as equals under the confines of the law, we will talk to you.
They have come with rifles before.
Yes, they have. We've had our work disrupted. Menzie High School being a very good example. There were 2 shootouts at the school, and it's a school where children are still. We're rebuilding the school, and we've been very, very strict on this. We will not negotiate with criminals, but also we will not be intimidated by criminals. We are the government of KwaZulu-Natal.
Martin Meyer, the MEC for Public Works and Infrastructure in KZN.
This is the National Pulse on SAFM. All podcasts can be downloaded on safm.co.za. The Daily News Diary on SAFM.
Hey, good morning. And you know what is called listening from empty? And Musa, are you with me?
Good morning.
Good morning. Do you know what is called listening from empty?
Listening from empty.
Usually I come with preconceived ideas of what you have on your diary. Today, I'm listening from empty. What's on your diary?
Okay, you got me. They actually thought you're speaking about MT. You know MT?
No, man, it's Tuesday, and, we'll think about those things on Friday, You mean MT the musician?
Yes.
Oh, come on. That's only happening on Friday and the weekend. Come back Tuesday.
Yeah, it is only Tuesday. But, well, in the past few weeks, Thulas, a spate of food-related illnesses and deaths, and especially in schools. And yesterday, the Health Minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, saying that, the sudden increase in incidents of suspected food poisoning in black communities, creating the perception that authorities have turned a blind eye to the crisis. However, that's not the case. And SAPS detectives have been working around the clock to unravel this mystery, especially where children have died, as in the case in Aledi in Soweto. And the metros of Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni have deployed their environmental inspectors to investigate the cause of these sudden attacks, as well as health inspectors, have been sent out to check compliance with health regulations. We also have reaction from the IFP President, Philinkosini Hlabisa, who has called for urgent government intervention, and this to ensure that spaza shops are returned to South Africans. He addressed the media yesterday speaking on the 100 days of Government of National Unity, as well as the Government of Provincial Unity, which the IFP is leading in KwaZulu-Natal. We've also had a number of weather alerts that's been issued, and the Eastern Cape Education Department warning the inclement weather could affect schooling, especially in the Eastern Cape, where matriculants have started with the exams. The South African Weather Service has warned of heavy rain and flooding and has issued an orange level 6 warning for disruptive rain with heavy downpours and potential flooding to be expected in parts of KwaZulu-Natal. The Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill, BELA, is also back before Parliament's Basic Education Committee today. It was signed into law by President Cyril Ramaphosa last month, if I'm not mistaken, and even though clauses 4 and 5 were put on hold for further consultation, these clauses deal with the admission and language policies for school. The Gampepe Commission of Inquiry into the fire at the Usindiso building in the Johannesburg CBD also expected to resume today, and the commission was set up to investigate the deaths of the 77 people in a fire at the hijacked building in August last year. In May this year, the inquiry found that the city of Johannesburg and its entities were liable for the deaths. In court, the Senzo Mehiwa murder trial resuming this morning with the lead investigator, Brigadier Bongani Gininda, expected to continue with giving evidence. 5 men are currently on trial for the murder of Senzo Mehiwa at his girlfriend, Kelly Kumalo's parental home in Vosloorus in the east of Johannesburg in 2014. And in Durban, a police officer who was allegedly found in possession of a bank card belonging to a hijacked victim and about over 100 other unknown bank cards is making his second court appearance at the Durban Magistrates Court, and that is on charges of theft, fraud and defeating the ends of justice. And just lastly, we're previewing the Gauteng Provincial Legislature's Portfolio Committee on Community Safety conducting an oversight visit to Orange Farm and the Orange Farm Police Station, and it follows the tragic mass shooting incident that occurred last week, Sunday, and that incident involved a tavern owner who allegedly shot 7 family members as well as a patron after an altercation and later shot himself. So some of the stories that we are focusing on this morning.
All right, thank you for that, Anne. And I was listening from from MT. I'll talk to you a bit later.
Oh my word.
You'll not live this one down quite soon. And Musa there. She'll be updating you on the news every half hour here on the Morning Brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
So Anne mentioned it in the diary there, the weather warnings that are out from the South African Weather Service. There's quite a few of them, so I do propose that I will actually shorten the rest of the weather in favor of highlighting these warnings because, as you and I have learned, they are quite important. Let's start with orange level 6 warning coming from the Weather Service. It says that disruptive rain leading to flooding of settlements or property, roads, danger to life, with some communities temporarily cut off. That situation is expected in places along the Eastern Cape, coast and adjacent interior. The second one, yellow level 4 warning, disruptive rain leading to flooding of settlements, roads, damage to property and infrastructure expected over the Koukama, Dr. Beas Nodier, Blue Crane Route, Makana and Raymond Mhlaba local municipalities in the Eastern Cape. Another yellow level 4 warning, severe thunderstorms resulting in damage to structures due to hail and wind, damage or loss of infrastructure, settlements, formal and informal, property, vehicles and livelihood over most parts of the KwaZulu-Natal and northeastern parts of the Free State. Then we have a yellow level 2 warning. It says severe thunderstorms resulting in flooding of roads, settlements and low-lying areas resulting in closure of some bridges and roads, damage or loss of infrastructure, settlements, both formal and informal, property, vehicles, livelihood and livestock, as well as major travel disruptions, including route obstructions over Gauteng, Western Bushveld in Limpopo, Highveld and escarpment of Mpumalanga and the eastern parts of the Free State and the Northwest. Lastly, we have a fire danger warning. Extremely high fire danger conditions are expected over the David Kruiper local municipality in the Northern Cape. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria is cloudy in the morning, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 15 to 23. Johannesburg is cloudy in the morning, otherwise partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 13 to 22. Mbombela partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 17 to 26. Polokwane partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 27. Mahikeng is partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 15 to 30. Bloemfontein is partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, with a minimum of 11 and a maximum of 23. Kimberley is partly cloudy, 10 to 25. Cape Town, fine, and the minimum temperature there, 16 to 26. Gqeberha, cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers, 14 to 19. East London is cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers, 15 to 19. Durban, cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers, 17 to 27. And finally, Pietermaritzburg will be cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers, 13 to 25.
Great news, travellers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Windhoek twice a week from only 1,800 Rand. So whether you're sealing the deal on a business trip or exploring Namibia's breathtaking natural beauty, we've got you covered with affordable flights every Tuesday and Saturday. From the Skeleton Coast to the Fish River Canyon and more. Get ready to explore with FlySafair. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices are making our kids sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, leading to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they get older. We need to protect our kids from all sugary drinks. Demand a stronger health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
The Danes and Banyana are meeting for the very first time. The 12th world-ranked women's national team want to triumph on home soil. However, African champions have a different notion in mind. They want to be the victors on foreign ground. Europe clashes with Africa. This is the international friendly, red and white versus green and gold. Catch the breathtaking clash between Denmark and South Africa on Friday, 25 October at 5:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The reality is that 90% of South Africans don't save enough for retirement. This National Seniors Month, why not be part of the 10% who do? Choose an interest rate of up to 11.7% after 60 months with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Anyone 55 and over can open one on the Money app in less than 2 minutes. Go to nedbank.co.za for more info. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
At 25 minutes past 6, let's focus on this story. An Australian senator has defended heckling King Charles III and accusing him of genocide after he addressed Australia's parliament on Monday. Lydia Thorpe, an Aboriginal Australian woman, interrupted the ceremony in the capital, Canberra, by shouting for about a minute before she was escorted away by security. Let's take a listen to how that interaction played out before we speak to our guest.
You committed genocide against our people. Give us our land back. Give us what you stole from us. Our bones, our skulls, our babies, our people. You destroyed our land. Give us a treaty. We want a treaty in this country. You are a genocide. This is not your land. This is not your land. You are not my kids. You are not our kids.
Yeah, that's how it played out, that protest there being registered by Lydia Thorpe. Let's bring into the conversation Professor Roger Southall, who is Professor Emeritus of Sociology at the University of the Witwatersrand. Good morning to you, Prof. I've got to thank you for your time. Just let's start off with, what you make of the incident. Lydia Thorpe registering this protest in this way while the King is visiting one of the 14 Commonwealth realms.
Well, not very surprising, really. I mean, the reparations movement around the world is becoming very vocal, and I think anywhere where the King visits outside the UK, he is likely to encounter protest of one sort or another. And I think that it was an Indigenous senator speaks to that whole issue.
And just in Australia, if we can focus on Australia for a moment, how strong, in your mind and your sense and your experience, how strong is the Republican movement that says the time has come to sever that umbilical cord?
I think it's more likely to come under a Labour government than the alternative. It seems to be on the cusp in Australia, from my reading it, about 50%. So I'm not sure that it's going to happen in the immediate future, but it's certainly on the agenda. But I think that it is almost inevitable that it's going to happen in the next 5-10 years or so. And I think the King is perfectly aware of that. And that life is going to continue as usual. And we know that I think fairly soon there are going to be other departures from the royal, the list of countries which still subscribe to the monarchy. It's a movement. It's and it's happening, and it's just going to proceed. I think increasingly quickly. And I think the countries which are left left behind are going to be very few. I suspect it's really going to be, at the end of the day, New Zealand and possibly Canada for some longer time.
Yeah. In fact, as you talk about that, Prof, let's talk about those countries that have recently decided that they want nothing to do with the system known as the Commonwealth realms. There's a strong movement in the Caribbean nations, is there not?
Yes, there is. And at the moment, it's particularly Jamaica which is pushing the envelope. It's aiming to become a republic by the time of the next election in 2025. It's going to need a 2/3 majority in Parliament to get that, but I don't see any. I don't see there's any difficulty that it will do so. It's following the pattern most recently of near neighbour Barbados, which became a republic in November 2021, and there are still, I think, another 6 countries in the West Indies which still subscribe to the monarchy, but I think given various things, the whole reparations movement, the Windrush scandal, which I think was particularly damaging in the West Indies for obvious reasons, I think the whole momentum is gradually towards their departure from the royal corral.
And finally, Prof, to what extent can parallels be drawn between those grievances that are historical and have to do with the history of colonialism, the brutal history of colonialism, and the plunder of some of those countries? To what extent can parallels be drawn between that and the grievances among Africans in various parts of the continent about the history of colonialism and the role of the British monarch?
Well, I think increasingly we are in an era when I think people are increasingly conscious of the history of slavery and the responsibility of Britain historically. And I think this is being driven home not only in Africa, but in Britain itself, where when I was growing up there, we got told in our history lessons about the abolition of the slave trade, but we never really got told that it was the British who were actually integral to growing sugar with slave labour. So I think the whole momentum of things are changing very rapidly. And of course, especially so in West Africa, and which was really the victim of much of the brutality of slavery, oriented to the Middle Passage and the West Indies.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights. That's Professor Roger Southall, who is Professor Emeritus of Sociology at Wits University. Bringing us to 6:31, let's check in with N. Musa now with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us in the headlines, torrential rains have been lashing the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality overnight. With reports of localized flooding, residents of Kariga have taken to social media to post that the areas of the town are flooded again. The Special Investigating Unit says it will seek to identify systemic failures and recommend measures to prevent future losses in the Makanda municipality in Makanda, formerly Grahamstown in the Eastern Cape. And the Buffalo City Metropolitan Council in the Eastern Cape has welcomed the decision of the High Court in East London to grant it an order to demolish the Enyobeni Tavern. The owners have 30 days in which to demolish the tavern. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yes, that flooding is quite extreme around the Rebecca region and probably other parts of the Eastern Cape. The rain has been pretty relentless. There's been a lot of it. And what we're seeing this morning is extremely swollen rivers. And please, an alert not to cross any low-level bridges, not to cross any flooded roads, because you just don't know how deep it is. You don't know how much water is still coming down. And I can tell you some of that water is flowing very, very rapidly and very deep as well. So just a morning of complete focus on road safety around the Rebecca region. And please don't do anything something that you shouldn't be doing in these conditions. Joburg this morning, Mike 1 North, Boyson through to Empire Slow, N1 onto the N12 through Diepkloof. On your way to Uncle Charlie's being held up as well. Truck fire incident, bottom of Van Rennen's Pass. On your way to Durban, reports coming in of a tanker crash around Moy River on the Durban-bound carriageway as well this morning. And we are seeing some fallen trees, inland routes around Pietermaritzburg. There's a big tree on the old Howick Road at Hilton that's come down and blocking that route as well. Road subsidence again with all the rain between Isingolweni and Harding, just west of Isingolweni. Some stop-go controls in place there. Driving into Cape Town, Mitchell's Plain, very heavy, a lot heavier than normal this morning. M7 fell to Freden Road, both of those options going north up to Philippi and Samora Michelle, really badly backed up. And still no joy with the timing of the traffic lights on Marine Drive at Woodbridge Island. There's a synchronization issue between the two lights, and it's causing already a big pushback down towards Milnerton High School area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you, Zai. So, live cricket on the go in Bangladesh. How's it looking?
Oh, the Proteas are giving Bangladesh a taste of their own spice. Because we have got our bowling team bowling them out for 106.
Beautiful.
And spearheading it, Kagiso Rabada.
There you have it, KG.
Yeah, KG is on fire. Let me tell you, yesterday he joined, he started the two tests on 299 test wickets. He's reached over 300. It was a career milestone for him, for the experienced and skilled Kagiso Rabada. It happened in the 14th over, and this is after the Proteas dismissed Bangladesh 406. They currently lead the Bangladesh team by 77 runs. The Proteas are on 183 for the loss of 6 wickets. But let's hear now from KG Rabada.
Yeah, just relieved and really honoured to be on a list full of great bowlers. So I'm really honoured. It's an honour for me to play for South Africa, and for me it's been a dream. So I can't believe that it's gotten to this. People have been fantastic, extremely hospitable, and the cricket's always good. Fans are crazy about cricket, and it's good opposition to play against.
Soccer news. Orlando Pirates will be out to hand SuperSport United a hat-trick of defeats when they meet in tonight's Betway Premiership at Orlando Stadium in Soweto. Pirates boast a 100% record in the Betway Premiership. They are placed second on the league standings, level on points with leaders Mamelodi Sundowns, and a win over SuperSport will elevate the Soweto Giants to the top of the table, while Masatsansa, who lost to Cape Town City in their last match in the Premiership, are occupying 13th spot in the standings, and a win over Pirates will elevate the Shwane Giants into top 8. Elsewhere, Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk says he has opened talks with the club about signing a new deal. The 33-year-old has been in Anfield since January 2018, and his current contract runs out at the end of the season. England international Trent Alexander-Arnold and Egypt forward Mohamed Salah are also out of contract next summer, but there has been no update on the situation. In the meantime, Unai Emery wants Aston Villa to break barriers and become regular contenders for silverware as they prepare to take on Bologna in the Champions League tonight. Emery has guided Villa from the bottom half of the Premier League to the Champions League since taking over as head coach just 2 years ago. Tennis US Open champion Aryna Sabalenka has risen to number 1 in the latest WTA rankings, ending Iga Swiatek's 11-month stay at the summit. Belarusian Sabalenka has also retained her Australian Open title in January, tops the rankings for the second time after an 8-week stay between September and November 2023. Now, neither player was in action last week, but Poland's Swiatek dropped to second after being given a points penalty for failing to compete in the mandatory 6 WTA 500 events. That's how we wrap up your sport here on the Morning Brief. More for you. Top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
For that, let's say good morning to Ndauling. So Ndauling, aviation news we start off with. And Boeing, what a troubled company.
Right? It's actually experienced a turbulent 6 weeks as that strike continues to intensify, but it seems like there is light at the end of the tunnel. Boeing and the union representing 33,000 striking workers have reached a tentative deal on a new wage contract. This agreement aims to end a 6-week-long strike that has disrupted Boeing's operations, resulting in a slowdown of production of aircrafts, including its best-selling 737 MAX jets. The proposed contract includes a 35% wage increase over 4 years and an annual bonus of at least 4%. A vote on this contract is scheduled for tomorrow. Now, the breakthrough follows a period of tension and disagreements between the two sides. The White House even had to intervene, sending acting Labour Secretary Dewey Sue to help mediate the negotiations, meeting with both union reps and Boeing's new CEO, Kelly Ortberg. Now, if the deal is approved, it would be a significant win for Ortberg, who took over in August with the task of improving Boeing's operations. While there's been optimism that a deal will be finalized soon, analysts are concerned about the proposed contract, saying Boeing could book more than $1 billion in wage-related expenses from its proposed labor contract, adding on to its already high costs. The vote also coincides with Boeing's third quarter results, in which it is expected to report a hefty loss.
It used to be said, if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. I wonder if they still say that.
I don't think so.
Tell me about SAP raising their forecast. This is the software and cloud business.
That's right. The German software and cloud giant kicking off the tech earnings season on a high note this week, delivering strong third quarter results, and that surpassed most expectations. The company's performance was driven by its cloud unit in particular, which saw revenue surge 25%. For the third quarter, SAP reported earnings of 1.23 euros per share, exceeding estimates of €1 per share, and revenue of 8.47 billion euros, slightly below expectations though of 8.63 billion euros. Despite missing revenue expectations, SAP raised its full year guidance, predicting cloud and software revenue to reach up to close to 30 billion euros. Now, this upbeat forecast is fueled by the company's strategic focus on cloud computing and AI, with many of its cloud deals that have been sealed with companies like Microsoft now incorporating, those AI-driven use cases. This performance has translated into upbeat investor sentiment, with its share price soaring over 50% this year, and this has pushed SAP to become Europe's most valuable tech company, dethroning ASML.
Lastly, Ndawuleng, a recap of the markets here at home yesterday, but also how Asia was looking, as well as the United States.
So markets kicking off the week on a sour note to us as traders await new market-moving catalysts. We saw U.S. stocks close mostly in the red yesterday, with the Dow Jones giving back some of the strong gains from last week as Treasury yields rose as well. Meanwhile, on the local front, markets pretty mixed, with the JSE All-Share slipping into the red, closing 0.14% lower. This was fueled by losses recorded in the Financial 15, which shed close to 0.7%. On the currency front, the rand trading in a tight range, not much of a difference from where it was at yesterday. It's trading at 17.61 to the dollar. Over in Asia, markets mostly in the red following its international peers. We're seeing traders booking profits on the back of the rally we saw last week. There's also some caution sort of taking hold of markets ahead of that all-important US election.
All right, that's the morning brief. Ndawuleng Lechela there with the first of three of her informative and insightful updates for you on the economy, the markets around the markets in this country and around the world.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said,
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed Dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer,
Think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
All right, let's talk diplomacy at this moment. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation has dismissed suggestions that its directive to move the Taipei liaison office from Pretoria to Johannesburg was made under pressure from China. Government has given Taiwan 6 months to relocate its offices from the diplomatic capital to Johannesburg. South Africa has severed political ties and diplomatic ties with Taiwan in 1997 and enjoys non-political, trade-based relationship with the country. For more on this, I'm joined by Crispin Piri, who is the spokesperson for the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Good morning to you, Crispin. I thank you for your time. What is behind the reason? Why does the Taipei liaison office need to move from Pretoria to Johannesburg?
Thank you for having me, Thulasizwe, and good morning from Kazan. Indeed, any trade office in the world, you will struggle to find it in the capital city of a country, where that is normally the preserve of embassies and high commissions if it's a Commonwealth country. So South Africa's decision to ask the Taipei office to relocate is consistent with the diplomatic practice and also consistent actually with the Geneva Convention, both on consuls and embassies, diplomatic ties, that is. So that is the rationale behind the decision. And it's something that we needed to ensure is consistent with our foreign policy. If you do not have diplomatic ties or any political ties with a particular nation, it's important that we then reflect that in how we locate where that nation is located in terms of its representation, particularly according to the level of representation. So you would find that most consuls or trade offices are based in what we call commercial hubs of a particular country or economic hubs of a particular country. Johannesburg, Cape Town, and even sometimes Durban, you would find a consul office.
Unusual to find it in the administrative capital, that is a trade office or a liaison office, but it did not really offend any of the treaties that you cite and international rules and even our own rules. So why move it?
No, it actually is inconsistent. Offend maybe a strong word, but it would be very inconsistent with diplomatic practice. And that's why we then thought, in fact, especially since we are both rebranding our office in Taipei as a trade office, as well as having asked them to rebrand themselves as a trade office, it would be the consistent thing to do in terms of foreign policy.
You will understand that from the vantage point of some people, many people, it looks like China put you under pressure. That Taipei liaison office has been there since the decision was taken, announced by then President Nelson Mandela in November 1996 and came into effect in 1997. It has never really troubled anyone that it's been there. From the vantage point of many commentators, it looks like you've been put under pressure by China and you are caving.
No, I think that is a silly at best mischaracterization. If you look at other countries in the world, I think only 15 countries would have recognized Taiwan, first of all, and I'm talking, this is across the whole world, 15. And you would not find a Taipei in the capital city of such a country. But also, as you have seen, if we are saying that the United Nations is a premium multilateral institution, you would have to act consistently with its resolutions. And in this case, Resolution 2735 of the General Assembly is quite clear on how we recognize the People's Republic of China, yes, and we have to act consistently with that. So in any event, implementing to the letter the resolutions of the United Nations cannot be seen as caving into the demands of another city. But in any event as well, one may argue that there's nothing wrong with South Africa acting in her national interests, and that would mean that we would then have to preserve other relationships consistent with what is in our national interest. And that is what you expect of any nation, is to pursue their national interests. Some of this would include looking at what are the trade relations between
so why not come out and say that then,
trading partners.
Why not come out and say that and lead with that and say we are pursuing the relationship with China because it's in our best interest as a country, and come out and be direct?
No. Foreign policy, Thulas, is multifaceted. Firstly, you follow the conventions that apply, and then you would then look at what your national interests are. And we always start with what are the prevailing conventions. And in this instance, the diplomatic conventions are very clear.
All right. Lastly then, Crispin, by when does the Taipei Liaison Office need to move?
These are ongoing engagements. We had given them a 6-month notice, so I think it would expire sometime towards the end of October. But they are ongoing engagements. We do understand that they have come back to us with some concerns, and this is an ongoing engagement between us and them through the diplomatic channels.
And you are prepared and willing to accept should they retaliate in one way or another, including implications for visas and whatever programs that Taiwan supports?
It wouldn't be a retaliation to say that we should be relocating from Taipei, the capital. That's something that we are willing to do, and it's something that we've communicated to them. But we do respect our non-diplomatic ties and value them, and we've always said that to them, and we aim to honor that element of our non-diplomatic and political ties.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Crispin Piri, the spokesperson for the Department of International Relations and Cooperation.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Top story this morning, and you'll hear about this in the news reports, as well as the significant and serious flooding around parts of Nelson Mandela Bay, around the Quebec region. Please don't do anything silly, don't do anything stupid. It really is an emergency sort of situation. The water that we're seeing coming down some waterways, coming down some rivers, is very deep and it's very fast flowing. So please stay away from low-level bridges. You don't know what's coming down. Stay away from trying to sort of cross any road that's flooded, because, again, you just don't know what's coming, and you might get caught and washed away and end up in all sorts of tragic sort of circumstances and situations. So please heed the warning. If you don't fancy it, stay at home. It's probably a good call this morning, actually, where you can, particularly if school kids are involved. You might want to just sort of hold back a bit and, just become fully aware of the situation, the gravity of the situation around the region. Into Joburg we go with a truck crash on the N12 at Protea Glen, Joburg bound. So by the Sasol garage, there's some additional delays there. N12 and R24, it's in from Ekurhuleni, very slow going. The N1's got to break down the new road. It's off the road, but you've got onlooking, pushing traffic back towards Brockfontein interchange. Durban, N2 north and south, queuing up through Spaghetti Junction, north towards Mgeni, queuing south down towards Spaghetti Junction. Probably a break. That's unusual to see southbound queuing up at this hour. Cape Town, the N2 inbound to Hospital Bend from the airport, all backed up, a combo of a crash and an earlier broken down vehicle at the Bend. The M7 out of Mitchell's Plain stays very heavy, even worse than normal, up towards Samora Michelle, and the problematic lights at Marine Drive at Loxton and Woodbridge Island are still playing up, and there's still a queue coming through from Racecourse Road and the paddock side. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
16 teams of Mzansi Africa's Elite League are back to the battlefield. Namanda Masha. They all believe ukuthi kuzoba right Kube bright as they navigate the path to the final. This is the second edition of the Call-In Knockout Cup. Fagukesi! Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Ipola Lasemzansi. The Call-In Knockout Cup, live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
What a day. Time for that face mask. Leave the face mask on for 2 minutes. 2 minutes? That's not even enough time for it to work. I can't even send an email in 2 minutes or make a cup of coffee.
With Santam, 2 minutes is enough to insure your car online. When you're fully protected with the expert insurer, you're free to live in the moment, not in the worry. Santam. This is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
74 million rand in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots could be your ticket to the big millions this Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 15 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 59 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
Let's turn to this now. Disaster management teams across KwaZulu-Natal have been placed on high alert following severe weather warnings from the South African Weather Service. You will have heard me reading them out a bit earlier on. Let's speak now to Dr. Elias Sithole, who is the National Head of Disaster Management. Good morning to you, Dr. Sithole. I've got to thank you for your time. What does placing the disaster management teams on high alert mean in the context of the warnings that have been issued now by the South African Weather Service?
Good morning. Good morning to the listeners as well. It means that all our resources that are closer to the areas which might be affected by the heavy rains, specifically the floods, but also it means that all our systems are up and running and our structures they've been activated so that any eventualities were able to respond.
And Dr. Sithole, you understand the context in which we asked these questions. A few months ago, we had that situation with the snowfall and the disaster that unfolded. And the sense was, why were you not ready to intervene and take people out of harm's way when you had the warnings from the South African Weather Service? So this time around, are you able to give a guarantee that where people need to be moved and evacuated and placed in temporary shelters and the likes, you will be found ready for that?
100%. During the snowfall, we received the early warnings from South African Weather Services. But what we did, we communicated the early warnings through the social media and other media channels. But we did not take the precaution measures like closing the roads and so on. This time around, our teams are ready. Where we see that the road is flooded, and then we close the road. Where we see that the river might actually flood the communities, or a certain area might be flooded, then we're able to relocate the people to the safe area or to the community halls. So this time around, we are ready to make sure that anything which happened, we're able to quickly relocate the communities before they've been affected either by floods or any other eventualities.
From my reading of the warnings a bit earlier on when I was reading out the weather, it seems two provinces are in the direct path of some of this inclement weather, the Eastern Cape as well as KwaZulu-Natal. KwaZulu-Natal, of course, and in fact both provinces have a history with weather disasters playing themselves out. Which areas concern you the most?
Yeah, mostly the areas along the coastal line, Potchefstroom, Gqeberha. Those are areas which we are looking very closely. But we have realized that when we moved to inland, South African Weather Services predicted that some of the areas or municipalities in inland, they might experience 60% of the rainfall. So we are looking from the coastal line, go into the inland, making sure that those communities who reside to those areas, they quickly receive earlier warnings, but also our structures are ready to make sure that they are relocated if the need arises.
You were talking earlier on about responsiveness and being ready to make the difficult decisions where the situation calls for it, the decisions such as deciding that the road is now closed, regardless of what the inconvenience will be. Who ultimately will be the decision maker in the days to come as we watch out for any possible, disaster that may unfold? Who will take these decisions? Will it be you?
The National Disaster Center, they've got powers actually to make those decisions, but we work with other stakeholders like your Sandral and other stakeholders to make sure that that decision which we are making, it is actually implemented on the ground. But also we make sure that we work with other associations. For example, if you have to close a highway, you have to work with Sandral and other trucking associations and other associations which might be affected, to make sure that we don't close the road only to find that the trucks are still moving and then they cause congestion. So we make the decision supported by other stakeholders.
Isn't that the challenge, though, Dr. Sithole, that ultimately there needs to be a human being that looks at a dashboard and looks at all these monitors and is on the phone with various people at various levels and is able to say, right at this point, with my experience and knowledge of this system, I am not happy to keep seeing people on the N2, for example. I'm going to make the call now and live with the consequences. A person, a small committee, a group of people that you can identify as opposed to broad institutions in the way that you are identifying for me.
Yeah, no. We do have structures in place which we activate them. For example, at national, we have a structured national where all the role players are participating. I'm chairing the structure. And then when you go to provinces, the head of provinces, disaster management, they're chairing those structures. All the role players, they're already participating there. So when we make decision in the structure, automatically that decision is being implemented on the ground. So the structure also monitor and come and report to the committee in terms of what is the situation on the ground.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Dr. Elias Sithole, who is the National Head of Disaster Management. And that brings us to 7 a.m. Let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, flooding in parts of Nelson Mandela Bay and SIU to probe tender irregularities at Makana municipality. Good morning. Torrential rains have been lashing the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality overnight with reports of localized flooding. Residents of Karega have taken to social media to post areas of the town that's again flooded. The town was flooded in June. The humanitarian organization Gift of the Givers has deployed its teams to assist with the relief efforts. Meanwhile, the Provincial Education Department has warned the inclement weather could affect schooling in the province. The severe weather conditions are expected to continue throughout the week. The forecast comes after the matriculants started their final exams yesterday. The department spokesperson Malibongwe Mtima has called on all learners, teachers and parents in the province to be vigilant.
Some areas may be unsafe for traveling. This call follows the recent floods which have left some rivers, bridges and low-lying areas overflooded. The department has put in plans to ensure that learners who may be affected by this will be afforded an opportunity to write their final examination in terms of the applicable policies and guidelines.
The Special Investigating Unit, the SIU, says it will seek to identify systemic failures and recommend measures to prevent future losses in the Makhanda municipality in Makhanda, formerly Grahamstown in the Eastern Cape. President Cyril Ramaphosa authorized the SIU to investigate allegations of maladministration involving 7 tenders in the municipality. The investigation will focus on the first phase of the Makhanda bulk sewer upgrade, the electrification project of the Greater Makhanda, and the reappointment of a consulting company for water conservation. SIU spokesperson Kaiser Khanego.
It also look at contracts that were flagged by the AGSA that were valued at about 200,000 rand and above, but were not concluded by inviting competitive bids in the report that they had on the 30th of June 2019.
The Buffalo City Metropolitan Council in the Eastern Cape has welcomed the decision of the High Court in East London to grant it an order to demolish the Enyobeni Tavern. The owners have 30 days in which to demolish the tavern. The Metro made an application for the demolition, citing challenges of zoning, the condition of the structure, and the owner's business license. In June 2022, 21 young people died at the tavern. Metro spokesperson Samkelo Ngwenya says they welcome the court's decision.
The law allows various rights to appeal. However, we're hopeful that this will not be the case and that the order will be adhered to by the owners within the stipulated period. The Metro is pursuing several issues in court related to the issue of Enyobeni and its owners, and these are against the structure. We are also assisting with the ongoing police investigation.
And finally, Hezbollah has continued to fire rockets into Israel. Earlier, the Lebanese Health Ministry said 4 people, including a child, were killed in Israeli airstrikes near the country's biggest government hospital. One hit the Rafik Hariri Hospital compound in Beirut, sending people running for cover. The BBC's Amir Nader reports.
Local media reported that the Hariri Public Hospital building itself wasn't directly hit. However, its location wasn't among those announced in advance as a target by the Israeli army. Videos from the Dahiya neighborhood of Beirut, where 7 locations to be targeted were announced in advance, showed locals fleeing from the locations by vehicle and by foot as the strikes began hitting, smoke visible in the nighttime skyline. One location identified as a target by the Israeli army was roughly 400 meters from Beirut's airport, the only international airport serving Lebanon and part of the country's crucial infrastructure.
Recapping the top story, torrential rains have been lashing the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality overnight, with reports of localized flooding. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out. Are you blowing your paycheck on car insurance every month? Monica, 39 from 3 Rivers, pays just 1,515 Rand a month for a 2018 BMW 320i.
None of the insurance companies has come near to the price I'm paying. I am happy at Outsurance. I'm going nowhere.
SMS out to 30754 now for a quick quote that could save you hundreds every month. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Quite a big truck crash now by Protea Glen. It's on the N12 by the Sasol garage. So there's a really big delay coming inbound on the Potch Highway, but if you're passing Lenasia down to the Protea Glen exit, there's also backlog in the 558 coming south from Protea Glen. Quite heavy to get on it. If you are that side of town, you might want to reroute through Soweto and hit some alternative routings. There's also a bit of traffic queuing on the M1 north towards the N12 Potch Highway. So if you're coming in from Crossmere, just note that. The main road from Lone Hill down through to Bryson Drive, heavy. Possible traffic light issues there this morning. The N1 pretty backed up from Brockfontein down to a breakdown on the side of the highway by New Road. So you certainly got some work to get through on Route 1 this morning. Durban queuing on the N2 north, but also on the southbound side through the construction between Umgena Road and Spaghetti Junction territory. Cape Town stays busy coming out of Mitchell's Plain. The M7 up towards the R300 jam-packed. Baden-Powell is open this morning with no reports of any major problems associated with sand. And the N2 inbound from the airport to Hospital Bend stays busy after an earlier breakdown and a crash in the bend itself. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it's live cricket action as the Proteas are taking on Bangladesh. It's the first test, day 2, and the Proteas lead by 104 runs after dismissing Bangladesh for 106. We'll bring you details as well as the Lions in rugby. They are awaiting to face one of the strongest teams in world rugby. All this and more around 7:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 7 on this Tuesday. Good morning, South Africa. This is the Morning Brief on SAFM. It's all the local and international news, current affairs, insights and opinions you need to lead the conversation today. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. We are into the second hour of the Morning Brief. Coming up in this hour, we'll have a strong focus on Eskom. 2 issues that we want to place under the spotlight within the next, half hour or so. The first one is the looming deadline for Eskom customers who are using prepaid meters to recode them. Eskom telling us that some 6.9 million customers are affected by this. You need to recode or else you will not be able to load new electricity tokens, and that's as soon as this coming Thursday. So Eskom will talk to us about that. But then we will shift our focus as well and focus on the multi-year price determination that Eskom has applied for, which is 36% in the first year and I think 18% if I'm not mistaken for the second year, and so on and so on. We'll focus a little bit on that and get commentary on it, just how realistic it is, as well as what the effects would be on the economy, as well as hear from an expert what needs to change in the way that we determine Eskom tariffs in that country. So that's this half hour. But another story that we will bring to you towards the end of this hour at about 10 to 8 thereabouts is quite concerning. The Education Labour Relations Council telling us that there has been an increase in the number of teachers who have been found to be having relationships with pupils, statutory rape really. The ELRC says it has received at least 82 cases of teachers having sexual relations with learners during the 2023-2024 financial year. So according to the council, most of the cases were in the Eastern Cape. But don't be mistaken into thinking that that problem is only in the Eastern Cape. So we'll have that conversation towards the end of this hour. Of course, we have all of your regulars lined up within this hour as well, and we will be taking your calls. And the number to dial for that, 086 000 2032. I'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. This is SAFM, Conversations That Move Us. The second hour of the Tuesday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Great news, travellers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Windhoek twice a week from only 1,800 Rand. So whether you're sealing the deal on a business trip or exploring Namibia's breathtaking natural beauty, we've got you covered with affordable flights every Tuesday and Saturday. From the Skeleton Coast to the Fish River Canyon and more. Get ready to explore with FlySafair. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I was recently diagnosed with myelodysplastic syndrome. Patients like myself go through a long and strenuous journey to get a stem cell transplant. I am grateful for the support I've received as I wait for the call that my donor has been found. This Sunflower Month, be a lifeline to patients like myself by registering to become a stem cell donor. You can save a life by registering at dkmsafrica.org.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
At 11 minutes past 7, let's start this hour with this story. Eskom has urged its prepaid electricity customers to recode their meters by 24 November 2024 as required by the Standard Transfer Specification Association. The utility says after this deadline, meters will no longer accept electricity tokens unless they are updated to the new system. The recoding process affects approximately 6.9 million prepaid meters in Eskom supplied areas. Let's welcome into the conversation the Eskom spokesperson, Daphne Mukwena. Good morning to you, Ms. Mukwena. I've got to thank you for your time. Why do customers need to do this process that you are calling recoding?
Good morning, Tulas, and good morning to your listeners. So, as you correctly said, that as required by the Standard Transfer Specification Association, these meters that we have, or prepaid meters that we have as Eskom, are going to expire on the 24th of November 2024, meaning that by that time, or beyond 24th of November, these meters will no longer accept any electricity tokens unless if they are updated or upgraded.
What does recoding mean for the customer? What does the customer need to do between now and the 24th?
Yeah, so as Eskom, we have about 6.9 million meters out there. So 97% of these meters, we have made them ready for customers to actually be able to simply go and recharge their meters. So this process means that when the customer goes and recharge or buys a token of electricity, what they will get in addition is two 20-digit codes, where these 20-digit codes, they will just upload them on their meters, and the meters will then be upgraded. Once they have uploaded these 20-digit number, then they can upload their recharge token that they have bought as well. And as I said, that then their meters then will be updated, and they won't suffer any consequences that would, come with their meters not being upgraded, which is obviously not having electricity or not being able to upload any credit token at that time.
So are you telling me that this process can only be done by physically buying a voucher? What about the other avenues through which people recharge their meters? Have you made similar provision, for instance, for those who do it through internet banking?
Yeah, so maybe let me start also by saying that those that are buying from or buying from any outlet that is actually selling recharge vouchers, they need to make sure that those people that are selling them or those vendors are authorized vendors. And for those that are using online or using their banking apps to buy recharge tokens, they are also a part of the process. They can also just buy those recharge tokens through their banking apps, and they will get the 2 additional digit codes, as I mentioned, and they just need to upload those 20-digit codes, and their meters will be updated as well.
For a process that can result in such inconvenience, Ms. Mukwena, I've got to say that I've not personally, and this is a personal view, I've not been impressed by your communication on it. It doesn't feel to me like this was flagged and highlighted and neon lighted over the last few months, and it should have been. What do you say to that view?
Look, we have started by doing this process since actually when we were doing our pilot in Gauteng, to say that this particular process where we would require that customers update their meters will happen at some point, which is November 2024. However, we needed to start with that pilot project. At that time, we started communicating, and we also ramped up our communication, I think, this year as well, beginning and middle of this year, to just encourage customers to start uploading or going to buy their meters. But remember, from Eskom side as well, we needed to make these meters ready from our side. And as I said, that 97% of these meters or our meters are ready. But we've been communicating, but as we know, communication obviously cannot be enough, but we will ramp up communication, and we've been ramping it up, but we will be ramping it up as well, just to make sure that all our customers are aware of this process and do actually buy from the legal vendors or authorized vendors or through their banking app, so that they can get those 2 20-digit numbers and they can update their meter so that they don't get to that stage where on the 24th of November, if their credit tokens are exhausted, then they can't, they won't have electricity, obviously, because there won't be any credit on their meters.
Lastly, Ms. Mokoena, because we will be focusing on your multi-year price determination as Eskom in the next few minutes, I perhaps feel that I should ask you once again, do you as Eskom believe that the tariffs you are asking for from NERSA are sustainable? And as briefly as you can, do you believe them to be sustainable?
Yes, we believe that they are sustainable in the sense that what we have requested from NERSA is it's cost reflective. It's what we need to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity to our customers, and also to ensure that we don't depend on government for any assistance as well in terms of finances.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for your time this morning. That's the Eskom spokesperson, Daphne Mokoena. That conversation about the tariff hikes and their implications coming up in a moment.
Ethical is what defines our business. I think Outsurance does have integrity. They are not just there for the money, they're there to create a relationship. It's like a partner in business. It's the best thing we've ever done to switch over to Outsurance. It's a no-brainer.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
And we went on a water safari and Mom spotted a hippo and it said grrr.
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king and the Zulu warriors chanting, Baye!
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
74 million rand in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots could be your ticket to the big millions this Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 15 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 59 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
All right, let's continue our focus on Eskom. The utility has applied to the National Energy Regulator of South Africa to approve a 36.1% electricity price hike from April 2025. Responding to this, Dr. Stephen Matetsa, a senior lecturer at the Africa Energy Leadership Center at Wits University, says if the hike is approved, it will certainly worsen the economic difficulties facing South Africans. Dr. Matetsa joins me now to take that conversation forward. Dr. Matetsa, good morning. So you've heard the arguments for this tariff hike on the side of Eskom, but you hold a differing view. You are saying this would plunge us into further difficulties. How so?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning to your listeners. Thulasizwe, we must be considerate of the fact that we are talking about a population that is 33% of them are unemployed or living beyond the poverty lines or trying to survive on social crimes. I foresee, based on increases such as this one, I foresee many communities not having access to electricity due to this exorbitant cost, And furthermore, for indigenous communities, high cost may result in unnecessary competition in the households, where one has to choose between buying food and other basic necessities and electricity. This is obviously aggravating their day-to-day livelihoods that are already challenged with. And on the other hand, there's also going to be negative impact on businesses, irrespective of their sizes, whether it's large businesses or SMMEs. They cannot be able to afford this cost. We've seen in the past that many businesses have complained about, if it's not load shedding, it's the high cost of electricity and this impact on their bottom line. And obviously, some of them might have to close down, and that also impact on the job creation in the country, And therefore, having a hike such as 36.1%, which is going to be applicable according to Eskom from next year, it's going to impact on the already communities that are already going through some of the socio-economic hardships in the country.
Are you not perhaps approaching this conversation from an end that Eskom would rather not have you approach it from? For Eskom, it's all about sustainability for them as a business. The words used are cost reflective. You are having an affordability conversation. Do you not have any sympathy for Eskom saying that for us to continue to produce electricity and supplying it the way that we do, we need the tariff to reflect the costs of producing this electricity?
But again, I think this is a matter that has to be approached in a holistic view. Considering that, well, Eskom is right to say that they need to move closer to the cost-reflective tariffs, there's also some of the considerations that as the primary energy cost and the operational cost and the IPPs. However, there are some of the considerations that have to be taken into consideration. For an example, there's been some cases where some companies have installed their own generation capacity and individuals moving to the rooftop solars. This results in drop in sales of electricity from Eskom. That is another fact that has to be taken into consideration. And again, this hike will obviously impact on some of the users, such as municipalities, and it's very unfortunate that the cost have to be passed over to the consumers.
You are, in fact, in your piece that you wrote there, Doc, you're talking about the need to revise the entire tariff methodology. Explain to us how that revision needs to happen and why it needs to happen.
Look, well, Thulasizwe, we've seen recently that there's been a lot of changes in the electric supply industry landscape, whereby there's a lot of low carbon technologies that have been brought into the system, and the economic conditions are changing on a daily basis, and obviously on the end of the consumer. So it becomes very imperative that the tariff dissemination framework be revisited to align to these contemporary conditions. And also the independence of NERSA should also be strengthened and exercised accordingly in order to ensure that some of the changes that are brought by the reforms, such as your Electricity Regulation Amendment Act, be exercised accordingly. Considering that with this new regulation, there's going to be a lot of competition into the market, and pricing of electricity becomes very important. So it's very important that the NERSA's regulation systems be revisited to ensure that they deal with the issues of the pricing accordingly.
Lastly, what is the World Energy Trilemma Index, and how does it feature in this conversation?
The World Energy Trilemma emphasized a balanced approach between energy security, equity, and environmental sustainability. While from the South African's point of view, while we're on track to ensure that there's a balanced approach between these three elements, we've seen energy security being improved in the past 200 days or so, and we're putting measures to address the environmental sustainability associated with the energy systems by bringing in this low carbon technologies into the system to reduce the carbon emissions. But again, from the equity point of view, there's a need for countries such as South Africa, which are already challenged from the socio-economic point of view, to use energy to address the socio-economic imperatives, and access to electricity become an important aspect of that. But considering the countries' inequalities and growing social challenges, we could these exorbitant increases, they will result in us not attaining the balance that, according to the energy trilemma, we should be striving towards.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That is Dr. Stephen Matetsa, who is Senior Lecturer at the Africa Energy Leadership Center at Wits Business School. Listening to that conversation is Trevor Ngwane, who joins me now to reflect on the implications for communities. Trevor Ngwane, an activist, scholar, and senior lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. So, Trevor, good morning to you. I've got to thank you for your time. The balance from your perspective, Eskom wants sustainability in terms of them being sustainable as a business. Communities and users want affordability. Bring into that picture the impact on communities such as areas like Soweto and other townships across the country. Where could the balance be struck on this tariff discussion?
Thank you very much. The balance can only be struck in favor of the community, because remember that, since the days of apartheid, black working class communities have been basically robbed of safe, reliable access, affordable access to electricity. In fact, indeed, the whole point of the struggle against apartheid was to rectify such, mistakes. But instead of the problem being solved, it's getting worse. And increasingly, our government leaders, energy leaders, are blaming that very same community, that very same black working class for the problem. So I think that the only way forward is to reorient our approach to energy, emphasize that everyone must have access to safe, clean, reliable and affordable energy, and also emphasize redress. Those who suffered in the past must stop suffering.
At what level should that conversation about redress in the skewed energy supply picture, at what level should that be happening? For instance, are we not backing up the wrong tree when we talk to Eskom about, these increases are not inflation related, we cannot afford them? Should we not be having the conversation at another level, at a more policy level?
There is no other level except the class level. Remember, South Africa is a capitalist society. So on top, you get the rich classes, the bourgeoisie, and then you get the upper middle class. You also get the aspirant black bourgeoisie, people who are intent on getting rich, on becoming billionaires. But all that, and remember also, we also have white monopoly capital who wants to continue with the privileges of the past. So all that is being paid at the expense, it's being done at the expense of the black working class and the poor. So those who suffered yesterday continue to suffer today. My point is we must stop this happening so that tomorrow there is real equality and there is real justice.
What do you say to those, and as a final point, what will you say to those who say there's a culture of non-payment as well as illegal connections, and that also, over and above everything you've raised, that also needs to be part of the conversation?
It can be part of the conversation, but those are symptoms of an underlying problem. So you cannot rob people from energy, which they dig with their own labor. They lay out the pylons, they dig out the coal, and then you make them live in dark cities. And then when they demand that electricity, when they die, sacrifice in the struggle, wanting their right, and then you penalize them and blame them for taking what belongs to them.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Trevor Ngwane, an activist, scholar and senior lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. Bringing us to 7:30, let's check in with N. Musa now with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us in the headlines. Numerous roads in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality in the Eastern Cape are closed or impassable due to localized flooding after torrential rains lashed the area overnight. The ANC Women's League Secretary General has called on the mother body to recommit to its 60-40 gender parity principle. And new scientific research has revealed a huge meteorite first discovered in 2014 caused a tsunami bigger than any in known history and boiled the oceans. The 50-kilometer wide space rock crashed into what is now South Africa when Earth was in its infancy 3 billion years ago. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Top story is the pretty dangerous situation on roads around Quebec, between Uitenhage and Quebec, also south of Uitenhage, Karika area. Lots of roads flooded this morning. Please do not try and cross any flooded roadways. You just don't know how much water there is. You don't know how heavy the water flow is coming down. Still to come, you could cross a flooded road and end up in all sorts of trouble with washaway situations. So play it safe. Might even be a day just to keep at home and stay at home and wait till conditions clear up. Joburg crash on the N12 down at Protea Glen, causing some delays both ways on the N12 highway. Crash before Galulis on the N12 coming in from Craft Road. That's quite heavy. N1 Brockfontein and New Road stays badly backed up as well. Durban Queen Nundy Drive queuing down towards the N2. Some traffic light issues this morning. The N2 between Mgena Road and Spaghetti Junction jam-packed both ways. And the N2 North, once you get past Westwood Mall, you're queuing again through Queen Nundy up towards the Komashu Highway exit. Southern Freeway inbounds quite heavy up towards the Esplanade as well. Cape Town M7 out of Mitchell's Plain stays heavily back towards the R300. The N2 stays heavy from the airport through to Hospital Bend. An earlier crash and breakdown have been cleared, but it's left a big backlog of inbound traffic along that N2 route this morning. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning once again, Zai. Things really looking up out in Dhaka in Bangladesh.
Yeah, of course. We've got the Proteas. They've got Kyle Verreynne at the crease. They're looking to dig deep and put in some strong batting lineup. So, yeah, South Africa definitely cooking up a storm. And it looks like they'll be extending their lead in this, the first test against Bangladesh. After bowling them out for 106 in their first innings, the Proteas steadily built on their advantage. As of now, South Africa is sitting on 227 for the loss of 8 wickets. And that's after 65 overs. Kyle Verreynne remains unbeaten on 67, and I think we're going to see a commanding lead. Hopefully, we'll keep you updated with the latest live scores again at the top of the hour. Soccer, Orlando Pirates will be out to hand SuperSport United a hat-trick of defeats when they meet in tonight's Betway Premiership at the Orlando Stadium in Soweto. Pirates, who boast a 100% win record in the Premiership, are placed second on the league standings, level on points with leaders Mamelodi Sundowns, and a win over SuperSport will elevate the Soweto Giants to the top of the table. Elsewhere, the Arsenal head coach Mikel Arteta was speaking ahead of their UEFA Champions League clash with Shakhtar Donetsk at the Emirates Stadium tonight. Arteta's side have impressed in Europe so far, beating Paris Saint-Germain 2-0 in that was the last round of the games after a 0-0 draw away at Atalanta. But Arteta says he's not taking Shakhtar Donetsk lightly.
Well, the fact that it's a team that is used to winning, they dominate a lot of the games in there. They have some very talented players. They have a great manager, and they have a really specific way of playing that it makes it really, really tricky. And they have huge experience in Champions League. They play in Champions League every year, and they know what they're talking about, and it will be tough.
On to rugby, where the Bulls have had a red card written off for the second week in a row after Johan Grobbelaar's sending off was rescinded for a dangerous tackle in last Friday's clash between the Bulls and the Scarlets. Grobbelaar, who came off the bench in the second half, was shown a red after referee Federico Vedovelli. He determined from a TMO review that he had made a dangerous head-on contact with the Scarlets. South African hooker Marnus van der Merwe in the 67th minute of the match. Scarlets went on to score a try in the 71st minute to snatch a 23-22 victory. Now, formal announcement from the URC will be made later in the week, but Grobbelaar is reportedly available for the Bulls' third and final tour match against Benetton in Treviso. And in the meantime, the Rugby Football Union is to roll out a new non-contact form of the game in schools in a bid to arrest the decline in the sport at school level. The plan is as a result of widespread review that found a decline in school and youth rugby, even in its traditional private school strongholds. And this was driven by concerns about injury and the view that it is difficult. It's a difficult game to introduce. And all eyes will be on Dublin as the Lions prepare for one of the biggest challenges in their URC campaign. Yeah.
It's Dublin. Dublin.
Get the accent right, Zai. Okay. Coach Ivan van Rooyen describing Leinster as a different beast, undefeated, sitting comfortably at the top of the log and fielding a full-strength team for the clash at the Aviva Stadium. The Lions are unbeaten and are riding high after victories over Ulster and Zebra, but Van Rooyen knows the Irish side brings a different tempo, and that match kicks off at 6:15 in the evening. That's how we wrap it up here on the Morning Brief. More sport, top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning once again to Ndauling Lechela. Ndauling, you know how I know I've made it in life? I get to talk to you about process. You guys, as business anchors, I doubt there's a company you watch closer than this one, and you are going to tell us that it expects an e-commerce profit to surge next year.
That's right. So Process being Naspers' more international arm has set an ambitious target of delivering $400 million in earnings before interest and tax by 2025. This goal was announced as CEO Fabrizio Bloisi reflected on his first 100 days in office, emphasizing the importance of improving profitability, particularly in Process's core e-commerce business. Now, the company's e-commerce portfolio is expected to triple its trading profit, as mentioned, to $400 million in the 2025 financial year, a significant increase from the $38 million generated in the 2024 financial year. So a very, very ambitious goal. This growth will largely be driven by its Indian investments, including Swiggy, which is preparing for an initial public offering. Bloisi anticipates more of Process's Indian investments to list on the stock market within the next 12 to 18 months. Now, analysts have welcomed Process's guidance, noting the need for reduced dependence on its Tencent stake, which accounts for over 75% of its net asset value. In a News 24 article, Vestec's Byron Lotter and Mergence's Peter Takainde agreed that sustained profitability improvement and disciplined capital allocation will be key drivers in closing that discount to NAV. Now, under Bloisi's leadership, Process has been streamlining its operations. The company recently disposed of its stake in Chinese travel agency Trip.com for about $1.5 billion, and it's also restructured the local business, including Takealot and Mr. D. These moves, it says, aim to enhance profitability and growth prospects.
Sticking with e-commerce, Ndauling, I see that the online retail space is heating up in terms of competition. Why does Takealot want more regulation of its Chinese competitors?
That's right, Thulas. It just seems that, the likes of Takealot joining the brick and mortar retailers like TFG and Mr. Price, just pushing for more regulation on e-commerce giants from China like Shein and Temu. And in its latest fight, it's pushing for SARS to require the Chinese online giants like Shein and Temu to establish local offices and distribution centers. This move, it says, aims to level the playing field between domestic companies and international players. Now, Takealot has proposed 3 key conditions to achieve this goal. Firstly, international e-commerce firms must establish physical local offices, making it easier for authorities to enforce South African regulations and laws. Secondly, international players should set up local distribution centers, employ locals, and partner with SMEs. Lastly, Takealot wants these businesses to establish a local business account with a South African bank to monitor financial transactions and ensure revenue generated in the country is subject to local taxation. This proposal follows SARS's move to slap Chinese e-commerce giants with tariffs worth 45%. Now, South Africa's e-commerce industry is poised for growth, generating about 107 billion rand annually, representing 6.3% of total retail value. Takealot says requiring international players to establish a local presence, of course, allows these players to all compete on a leveled playing field, ensuring that international e-commerce players contribute to the South African economy. To be fair, I don't know how successful they'll be in making sure this goes through.
Yeah, pitch it high, man. Pitch it high and then see how much of that you can get. The stakes are quite high, so you can imagine how they would be wanting to protect their territory. Lastly, Ndauling, just give us a recap then of the markets as well as the United States and Asia.
So kicking things off in Asia, most markets there are trading lower after a negative lead from Wall Street fueled by profit taking. The Japanese Nikkei taking the biggest beating there, down 1.3%. Markets in China, however, in the green, benefiting from yesterday's interest rate cut. That's boosted the Shanghai index, trading 0.2% higher. Moving over to the US, futures are in the red, extending yesterday's losses. Traders really taking a wait and see approach ahead of the US elections. We do have some tech earnings, though. Google's parent company, Alphabet, releasing third quarter earnings later today. So that might spark some trade in the tech-heavy NASDAQ. Back at home, markets had a mixed finish yesterday, but stocks were mostly in the red. The all-share losing 0.14%. The rand, in the meantime, quite stable despite the dollar strength we've been seeing. It's trading at 17.58 against the greenback.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ndauling Lechela. Look out for more of her updates. In fact, in the third hour of the show, she will update you before the opening of trade for this Tuesday at the JSE.
Health experts say that taking care of your baby starts the day you learn you have conceived. Changes should start immediately, from what you eat to how you take care of yourself. After you've delivered your baby, does the worry stop? No, it doesn't. From there, it's clinic visits, breastfeeding, introducing solids, and the list goes on. If you are a mom, father, or caregiver and are curious on how to support your kids' development to reach their full potential, or even concerned about the nutrition that strengthens their bodies, then our new SABC education feature, Side by Side, is for you. Get all the advice you need from the Department of Health by tuning in every Wednesday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m. on The Full Circle on SAFM, starting in October. Tune into the feature and you could win 1,000 Rand with our monthly competition. Side by Side, brought to you by SABC Education on SAFM, leading the conversation.
16 teams of Mzansi Africa's Elite League are back to the battlefield. Namandla Masha. They all believe Ukutukusoba right, Kube bright, as they navigate the path to the final. This is the second edition of the Carlin Knockout Cup. Fagukesi. Catch the unmatched passion and drama of Ipolala Mzansi. The Carlin Knockout Cup, live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Namibia and Seychelles both want their presence felt when they meet at 12 midday, while Mzansi's Banyana confront neighbors Eswatini at 3 p.m. This is the doubleheader of the Hollywood Bets COSAFA Women's Championship. Catch both matches on Friday, 25 October, live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Africa Update on SAFM.
For that, at 7:45, let's welcome Sipho Mantula. Good morning to you, Raz. Let's start in Mozambique. The situation is growing ever more concerning in that country with protests, and now we're watching what the international bodies of the continent have to say about the situation.
Refreshing morning, Thulas and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, remember yesterday we spoke about this general protest coming from Venancio Mondlane, who has said that there was electoral fraud. Yesterday, what he saw, it was what he said, the country was paralyzed. 95% of private and public service were not operational yesterday. And now we saw that there were some protest killings that has happened now, that the AU and the EU condemn what they call a post-election violence. Others are saying SADC is silent, Thulas, and we know where the voice must come. It must come from Harare, it must come from Dar es Salaam. Why I say so, Thulas? Emerson Mnangagwa is the chair of SADC. Tanzania is chairing the Troika, which deals with peace, security, and politics. And that's how we see Thulas. 48 hours from now, we are waiting for the 24th of October on Thursday, Thulas, where the Electoral Commission must pronounce who's the winner of the 9 October elections in Mozambique.
Yeah, all of this, and we've not even had the official announcement yet. Let's turn to Cameroon, Sipho. Paul Biya has not been seen in a long time, and finally he's back in the country.
42 days, Thulas, when we look at the mathematical days, they say it's almost a month and 2 weeks that the father of the nation, when he was arriving yesterday in the afternoon with his wife, Chantal Biya from Geneva, he was welcomed by his supporters. Remember, it was a national security matter, Thulas. No radio stations could broadcast about his health. And now he's back in the country, and 91-year-old President of Cameroon, Paul Biya, is back in the country, but he was welcomed by his supporters, Thulas. We don't know what is the opposition saying, because there was this issue that he has passed on, but he's well, and he was waving. He could not even say wait, Thulas, yesterday. He just waved.
Yeah, at the ripe age of 91 years old. Let's go to Morocco, Sipho. I see that the French president is visiting the country there. What are some of the themes that are coming out from that visit?
Remember that France have said in July they are going to revive their relations with Morocco. Despite that, we have a Western Sahara dispute. Now, France is going there to engage on what they say it's a deep-rooted, solid partnership. And that will be known to us. That will be around issues of security. It will be around the issues of energy, natural resources that are in Morocco. But at the same time, like I say, Macron visits Morocco when it is at the height of its tension with Algeria as well with Tunisia on the question of Western Sahara. So this visit is very important as it is taking place in the midst of the Russia BRICS summit that is taking place today until Thursday.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's your next story. Last year when South Africa hosted the BRICS summit, the Russian president couldn't come through. Now President Ramaphosa will join those who will be there at the BRICS summit in Russia.
Thulas, that is Kazan this time. They are not in Moscow. It will be held in Kazan, the 16th BRICS summit under the theme Strengthening Multilateralism for Just Global Development and Security. Very important summit, Thulas, because expansion of the bloc for the first time where you see Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia being part of this summit. And as we have said, President Ramaphosa chatted yesterday with his ministers to attend this important summit that is in Kazan in Russia. Others are saying it's a test of Moscow's influence, Thulas, in world affairs, looking at the geopolitics of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, looking at the question also of Iran, also in tension with USA. The role of Turkey, the role of India, the role of China in the summit will be very critical.
Lastly, Sipho, you're taking us in your historical archives, taking us back to 22 October 1936. What happened?
Thulas, this is a great man in our historical archive who passed on in 2012 but was born on this day. He will have been 88 years. We are talking about Neville Edward Alexandra. The man was born in Craddock in Eastern Cape. He went to Germany, University of Cape Town. He was one of the key members, Thulas, if you remember, of the liberation struggle. Arrested and spent 10 years in Robben Island. When you talk of language, Thulas, in this country, when you say, how do we promote multilingualism in post-apartheid South Africa? Very important, like I said, in our archives. He passed on the 27th of August 2012 in Cape Town. And Nkosi Thulas, as we are still leading the conversation, SAFM.
All right, thank you for that. Advocate Sipho Mantula there with your Africa update. He's back with it again tomorrow here on the Morning Brief.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Had a truck crash this morning on the N12 down by Protea Glen, just by the Sasol garages. So if you're using the N12, it is heavy both their ways, going from Lenasia or coming in from the Potchefstroom area, or Potchefstroom side, if you like. So driving through to Joburg, approaching the 558, Protea Glen, actually very heavy traffic and a lot of disruption trying to get out of Protea Glen and into the N12 because you're sort of joining into the traffic that's queuing up towards the crash scene. So very heavy backlogging going on that side of town. The Mike 1 this morning, as we saw yesterday, fairly heavy from Boysons all the way through to Greyston. You've got the usual backlog to Parktown up through Crown, and then traffic lights continue to affect the Greyston Drive off-ramps. William Mandela from Bryanston High School onto Santon Drive's heavy, Peter Place and Republic Road, both backlogging into that area as well. Lights are down Main and Bryanston Drive. That's why it's so heavily backed up out of Lone Hill in towards the Bryanston area, and queuing pressure on Cedar Road from Daneford down towards Uranium. That route's often busy, but it's even busier this morning. N1 South in Pretoria, slow from Garsfontein down towards the R21 highway. Durban, coming out of the Queen Nandi area, there's some traffic light issues as you head towards the N2, so quite heavy backlogs there today. The N2 running south remains heavy between Umgeta Road and Spaghetti Junction. Interestingly, the N2 North, which backs up every morning, is busy, but not as bad as it normally is, getting up through Westwood Mall. Cape Town, lots of traffic around this morning. Bit of sand on Baden-Powell at Monwabisi. The road is open, but take it easy. The N7 going north is heavy. There's a crash on Bosmansdam Road at Montague Drive. So Bosmansdam across the bridge is heavy, and behind that the N7's a really big backlog from about the railway bridge area in Goodwood. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Great news, travellers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Windhoek twice a week from only 1,800 Rand. So whether you're sealing the deal on a business trip or exploring Namibia's breathtaking natural beauty, we've got you covered with affordable flights every Tuesday and Saturday. From the Skeleton Coast to the Fish River Canyon and more. Get ready to explore with FlySafair. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Southern African Queens are back on the battlefield. 14 teams will tackle each other in the search of the ultimate glory. This is the Hollywood Bets COSAFA Women's Championship 2024. Witness the great contest by regional football queens from 22 October to 2 November 2024. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com.
For the love of the game.
Get ready to make your life easier with TV License's new website features. We upgraded to the secure iVery 3D payment gateway and the ability to manage your account information, view, print, and download a detailed TV license statement. You can make website queries for an account and technical support, which has made things immensely easier. It is now a smooth, effortless process that can respond to all user inquiries quickly and efficiently. It is a great way to quickly get the help you need without worrying about a thing. Get started now and enjoy the convenience of TV License's new website features. Visit www.tvlic.co.za today. TV Licenses, do it for the convenience that matter.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
At 6 minutes to 8, let's focus on this concerning story. The Education Labour Relations Council, ELRC, says there has been an increase in the number of teachers who have been found to be having relationships with pupils. The ELRC says it has received at least 82 cases of teachers having sexual relations with learners during the 2023-2024 financial year. I'm joined now by Matlose Muela, who is the Senior Manager for Dispute Management Services at the Education Labour Relations Council. Good morning to you, Mr. Muela. Matlose, I've got to thank you for your time. Is it your sense that this problem is getting worse?
Good morning, Thulas, and to our SAFM listeners. Indeed, the cases as they are referred to us is worrying. The numbers are increasing, and we need to do something. That must change the status quo in this regard.
And you're saying this is based on the numbers that are coming through to you. Just give us a sense. 82 cases, you say, in the 2023-2024 financial year. Where is the problem particularly pronounced?
Look, it's across the provinces, and indeed, it's 82 cases, as you say. But you in the stats, you see that the Eastern Cape has got the highest referring number of cases of this nature, and followed by Gauteng, and then the Free State, and then the Western Cape. But moving backwards a bit, we have seen the first province that when the collective agreement of the ELRC was concluded, when we started managing the cases at the ELRC, KwaZulu-Natal was the highest referring province. But now things have somewhat shifted around. We see Eastern Cape topping the list.
And what do you glean into that? Does a province being low in reporting and referring cases to you, is that necessarily an indicator that the problem is less pronounced in that province, or is it maybe that it's just not being reported?
I think we've got the problem of reporting of these cases, and that's where we are heading to in terms of us going out, sharing the information with the unions, with the principals in their seminars, with the departmental officials, so that as they go down, they go and disseminate as well to their constituencies. Principals speaking to teachers in the staff rooms, and also speaking to children during the assembly, so that they can be aware. In fact, forbid this kind of conduct that we are seeing continuing.
So give me a sense of what the rate of consequence management is once there's been a referral to you. What's the process, and how many of these teachers actually end up facing the consequences for their inappropriate relationships with school children?
Look, for any allegation of sexual misconduct, those cases are investigated by the department, and once the investigation has been done and concluded, and they see that indeed the allegations seem to be true, then the department will draft the charges, serve the educator, and send the referral to the ELRC. The ELRC will then, we conduct this process through what we call inquiry by arbitrator, which is the process provided for in Labour Relations Act Section 188A. Then we set down the matter, we appoint a competent commissioner who has been trained in education law, who is able to assess evidence of the child, and then we also bring about the intermediary who's going to assist the child when they testify. And then they present the case to the commissioner. In other words, we try to do what we call a protection of the best interest of the child without taking away the right of the educator to fair labor practice. And then the commissioner is going to assess the evidence. Once he assesses and he finds that indeed the educator is guilty, then the sanction must be dismissal. I say must because it's a must, and there's no deviation from that. And once he is found guilty as such and is dismissed, then we send the name of the educator to Department of Social Development so that they can put that name of the educator in their register, which they call Child Protection Register. And we also, of course, send the award to the department so that they can block this educator from the PESA, so that if he goes to any other department, his name should reflect to say he was dismissed for this reason.
But to what extent do all these processes you describe actually happen in reality, Mr. Mwela? What are the figures? What are the statistics in terms of teachers who are now on that role of infamy?
Look, we send every award in which an educator has been found guilty to the Department of Social Development. The only challenge that we have, as you are asking the question, is the accessibility of the register itself, because there are certain protocols that must be followed. In fact, it's about the Director Generals in the Department of Education and also in the Department of Social Development to agree and then share the register amongst each other.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. That's Matlose Muela, who is the Senior Manager for Dispute Management Services at the Education Labour Relations Council. Actually, there's an idea there. Those DGs, Education and Social Development, there may be an idea for us to follow through there to say, are you sharing this information about teachers who are violating school children? That brings us to 8 a.m. Time for a news update with N. Musa. Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
In our top stories, flooding in parts of Nelson Mandela Bay leads to road closures and court grants order for Enyobeni Tavern to be demolished. Good morning. Numerous roads in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality in the Eastern Cape are closed or impassable due to localized flooding after torrential rains lashed the area overnight. Provincial authorities have effected evacuations in the Dr. Braun, Lapland and Missionvale areas. There's concern on the condition of a bridge over the Kreis River leading to Kariga. Ali Sablé from humanitarian organization Gift of the Givers says many residents are trapped because roads are submerged.
The areas of Kwazakile, New Brighton, Motherwell, the local informal settlement of our former location, they are currently without electricity. Water levels are rising rapidly. Most of the areas are cut off currently.
Meanwhile, the South African Weather Service has appealed to members of the public to pay attention to its warnings. Earlier this year, government raised the issue of disaster management communications in KwaZulu-Natal not reaching remote areas and residents not being prepared when inclement weather conditions were forecast. Severe weather warnings have been issued in most parts of the country. The Weather Service has forecast hail and strong winds which will accompany severe thunderstorms for most parts of KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. Forecaster Lihlohonolo Tobela has this message for members of the public.
The most important one is to listen to the disaster management communication, and past that is to make sure that whatever that they advise from the disaster management, they follow that and adhere to what they say, because they would know better in how to manage disasters as much as we issue the forecast. However, if you are to be driving in areas where it's flooded, make sure not to drive into rivers that are flowing and keep a distance that is safe on the roads. And if you're in informal settlements and you're told to vacate the area, rather listen than decide.
Parents of some of the 21 young people who died at the Enyobeni Tavern in East London in the Eastern Cape 2 years ago have described a court order to demolish the building as a welcomed development. Yesterday, the High Court in the town granted the Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality an order to demolish the tavern. It must take place within 30 days. The Metro made an application for the demolition. One of the parents is Kulukile Ngandane.
We hadn't had a problem with the structure being demolished, but the problem was the inquest is still ongoing, so we wanted it to be demolished only when the inquest is completed. That's our view about the demolishing of the structure.
The ANC's Women's League Secretary General Nogutula Ngaba has called on the mother body to recommit to its 60-40 gender parity principle. She's also called on women in the organization to support each other in their quest for leadership positions. Ngaba was speaking at an event to celebrate the life of the late struggle icon Albertina Sisulu in Soweto last night. Masisulu was born on the 21st of October in 1918. She was the only woman invited to the formation of the ANC Youth League in 1944 and was also part of the 1956 anti-pass march to the Union buildings in Pretoria. Ngaba says they are tired of campaigning only to be ignored when it's time for deployment.
If you look in terms of the statistic of those that came out as voters in numbers, it is women. But again, in the National Assembly, we are not in majority. In the cabinet, we also fell short. In other provinces where we had majority, we had to educate and remind the ANC about its own principles of 60-40. Sidiniwe kuqhwabelana. It is high time that as we move forward ngo-2026 iyaphela ibhayisikophu yoba sibe sinyuka sisehla singalali sisebenzele owathi khansini abavoters.
And finally, new scientific research has revealed a huge meteorite first discovered in 2014 caused a tsunami bigger than any in known human history and boiled the oceans. The 50-kilometer wide space rock crashed into what is now South Africa when Earth was in its infancy 3 billion years ago. New research carried out at the impact site has found evidence that it caused global devastation, but then helped earlier life to thrive. Harvard University Professor Najat Rabon led the study.
Life was not only resilient, but it it bounced back really quickly and then it thrived. These big impacts would have been really rich in phosphorus, and phosphorus is an absolutely essential nutrient for life. The tsunami that swept across the globe would have brought a lot of iron-rich deep waters to the surface, and this iron is also really important for early microbes.
Recapping the top story, numerous roads in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality in the Eastern Cape are closed due to localized flooding after torrential rains lashed the area overnight. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
And that's the news for this hour. Theft, accident and 1 million rand liability cover, all covered by Outsurance Essential. Get a quote today, SMS CAR to 43187. The scariest thing this October could be driving your older car without insurance. With Outsurance Essential, you don't have to live on the edge. After an accident, claims are paid in cash, so you can choose the panel beater you want to use. Top this up with motor warranty from Outsurance that covers you for mechanical and electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yes, a very good morning. The flooding around the Quebec region is pretty extreme. We're seeing more and more roads that are being closed due to floodwater as we go through the morning. Our advice has simply been, look, it's pretty treacherous, it's pretty dangerous, it's very high rivers, very fast-flowing water. Avoid travelling this morning. I'm sure the boss will understand. I'm sure the school principal will understand if you're keeping the kids at home as well, or if you have kept the kids at home. Really, it's pretty treacherous. You get some areas that are flooded and there's absolutely nowhere through because the alternative routes are flooded as well. So if you are absolutely essentially having to travel through the region, please do so very, very safely and very cautiously. Other issues, Schoeman's Kloof Pass is closed. A big truck on its side on the Mbombela side of the pass. So the Elands Valley section will be the alternative route. Crash scene down at Protea Glen, still backlogging traffic both ways on the N12 Potchefstroom Highway. Big crash at Umhlanga north of Durban. It's on the M4, the Ruthfirst Highway between Umhlanga Rocks Drive and the M41. It's really heavily back there, particularly northbound. If you're heading from Durban to Umhlanga, get onto alternative routes and avoid the M4 highway. Cape Town crash on Baden Powell at Old Fora Road, causing some delays out around that side of town. The N1 inbound's pretty heavy from Platte Cliff Hill all the way through to city centre, and a crash on Bosman's Dam Road at Montague Drive, causing big delays out of the Botasak and Edgemead area, and badly backing up the N7 with queues from almost as far back as the casino in Goodwood all the way to that Bosman's Dam traffic mess. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it's cricket action as the Proteas dominate Bangladesh. They lead by 137 runs on day 2 of the first test. And soccer, the Manchester United's boss Eric Ten Hag is relishing the Europa League clash with Jose Mourinho. Details around 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
And we're into the third hour of the morning brief on this Tuesday. Good morning, South Africa. It's good to be in your company this morning. We've had a number of conversations that we have, whose fuses we've lit in the last 2 hours. The issue of Eskom, we focused a bit on Eskom. There were two issues. The recoding of prepaid meters, some 6.9 million meters need to be recoded. Otherwise, they will not be able to recharge electricity tokens. And on that score, I do need to correct myself. I did say, and I've been saying all morning, that the deadline is 24 October. I meant to say 24 November. 24 November, I got it completely wrong. It is, there's still some time, but don't rest on your laurels just yet. Follow through and recode those prepaid meter boxes. That was the one conversation. The other conversation, of course, had to do with the tariff hike and the sustainability or otherwise of the tariff hike that Eskom is asking for. We had a few people weighing in on that, and I see that that's triggered a lot of conversation on the WhatsApp voice notes, and I will take those in a moment, as well as some of your comments. I'm still reeling from the conversation at the end of the last hour about the teachers that have been found to be having sexual relationships with pupils in schools, with children, with learners in schools. The Education Labour Relations Council telling us that there are 82 cases in the financial year 2023 to 2024. And of course, much earlier on, we talked about the Commonwealth realms, those countries that continue to have the King of England as the head of state, and then they will have a prime minister. This may be some of the issues exercising your mind, but of course, I'm open to hearing from you about any other issues that are on your mind this morning. This is SAFM, Conversations That Move Us. The third hour of the Tuesday edition of The Morning Brief starts now.
Outsurance definitely understands the nature of our business. Being properly insured is extremely important to the success of our business.
They come to the party very quickly, resolve things.
Action speak much louder than words. Outsurance have shown us nothing but action.
Switch to Business Outsurance today and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. SMS quote to 43328. That's quote to 43328 to switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
South African Airways is expanding in the DRC. We now offer direct flights from Johannesburg to Lubumbashi, the heart of the DRC's mining hub. Our convenient arrival time allows seamless connections to key regions like Ndola and the Copper Belt, opening up new growth opportunities. Traders can benefit from our generous baggage allowance, while SAA's superior aircraft belly capacity ensures your cargo reaches most parts of Congo on the same day. Book now at flysaa.com or contact your travel agent. South African Airways, connecting Africa to the world, one flight at a time.
And we went on a water safari, and Mom spotted a hippo, and it said, "Grrr."
There is a place where you can see wonder and the wild, with breathtaking scenery and endless landscapes. Enjoy good food and embrace great taste.
And the next day we went to the Reed dance. I saw the maidens handing over reeds to the mighty Zulu king, and the Zulu warriors chanting, "Baye!"
Explore all this and more in the magical Zulu Kingdom.
This message is brought to you by KZN Tourism and Film Authority.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
All right, at this point, let's crank up the ideas refinery. Let 100 flowers bloom. Let 100 schools of thought contend. Let's take some of your calls and some of your WhatsApp voice notes. Let me start with AK in Tshwane. AK, good morning. You want to talk to me about Cameroon. Do you want to talk about President Paul Biya?
Yes, Thulas, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. You know, radio stations are like political parties. So if you deliver, people will keep tuned. Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you about Paul Biya of Cameroon. I really want South Africans to tell me how can it happen that somebody somebody who's the head of a country can spend 42 days out of the country. And to add to that, he has been in power for about 41 years and he's 91. Imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really disheartening.
Yeah.
We Cameroonians are suffering from the hands of this man and his cabal. They've got a cabal that they are leading, and they are being that cabal is being supported by France. So I don't really know what a president like Ramaphosa can think about this. He should try to help us, so that when they go to their normal AU meetings, they should try to ask each other what is happening, that we take long in power.
Yeah, so accountability between the leaders on the continent.
Yes, that accountability, that's really what I want.
All right, AK.
Yes.
Thank you for weighing in on this issue. AK there in Tshwane, talking about the situation in Cameroon and the leadership of Paul Biya. Let me take a call from Bulelani in Matatiele. Good morning to you, Bulelani. You want to talk about the Eskom recoding that is due on the 24th of November, not October, just to correct myself. Good morning.
Yes, morning, boss. Yeah, thanks for correcting it. But in fact, as you said, the 24th of November seems to be far, but they are almost around the corner, so we need to act and record so that we don't get a disappointment. Chief, I wanted to find out from the spokesperson now, what about those who have recently got new meters? You see, just like myself, I got a meter in July. Then that meter, I was given those 20 digits she spoke about. So I wanted to find out if now I will also now entitled to go and record again.
I suspect,
the way she explained it is the way that I got the new meter.
Yeah, I suspect, Bulelani, that you may be one of those people who are in the clear and ahead of all of us, because I saw in the statement that they are talking about 97% of the newer meters. They have already had the process done and initiated on their side. They still need you to input those 20 digits, but my suspicion, without being authoritative on this, would be that you are in the clear. You probably are okay. That's Bulelani.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's Bulelani and Matatiela. But do find out, though, Bulelani, and get it from proper authorities and not just from me. Dumisani in KwaZulu-Natal, good morning to you. You also want to talk about the Eskom meters and recoding.
Yes, Tula. Look, man, this project will require a lot of communication and customer service.
I agree.
I'm not sure whether you are aware that Eskom customer service centers have been closed, and every time you're trying to enter there, they refer you to 2020. I think the COVID time, so they haven't been open. And people are referred to some electronic communication, which is problematic, and particularly to people that are not young, are not familiar with the system. So it's bad. It's bad. I'm sitting here with reference numbers for some people that have been trying to assist, and it's just there is nothing that is happening in terms of customer service, because customer service centers are closed. They've been closed from 2020.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Dumisani. The communication and accessibility assistance to people will need to be stepped up well in advance. Eskom will need to step up to that so that there's no inconvenience that results from the reality that people simply could not get the help they need to do this recoding process. Let me take a call from Butana in Rosebank. Butana, good morning to you. You want to talk about this issue of statutory rape cases by educators in inappropriate relationships with pupils.
Indeed. Good morning, my brother. Why are they reported to social development a hopeless department? And by the way, the structure, education, what? In fact, by people, they're protecting each other. Those are rape cases. They have to go to the police, and case must be open, and this thing must be arrested.
Yeah.
Why reporting to hopeless department that is infected by members of the parties as well?
Yeah. No, I hear you, Butana.
Things in the police, and the people must be arrested.
Absolutely.
They are protecting each other now.
Absolutely, I hear you.
It's right.
It is right.
Don't they understand that?
I agree with you. I agree with you, and I get the sentiment and where you are coming from. It's outrageous, really, some of these cases. In fact, these cases that we hear about of so-called relationships between educators and pupils. And Putana is absolutely right there that there should be follow-through and consequence management. Let me take 2 quick voice notes on the issue of Eskom before moving on.
Hi, Thulasizwe. You're speaking with Tembiso from Pumalanga. I just bought my token now online, and the other digit that the lady is mentioning doesn't appear. It's only appearing the 1-digit the numbers of what I've purchased.
Good morning, Thulas and the listeners. You know, this thing of updating the prepaid meter boxes, it has started a long time ago. I remember on my site, I've seen it, I think it's about 6, if not 7 months back when I buy electricity, and I see that I have this 3 sets of 20 numbers. And then they've explained to me that this is in order to update our meter boxes.
So it's good to hear that, your experiences, some of you have been good in the sense that you've been told and have been guided about the need to recode those prepaid electricity meters before the deadline that is next month. Earlier on, we had the conversation with Crispin Piri, who speaks on behalf of DIRCO, about DIRCO insisting that the Taipei liaison office move from Pretoria and move to Johannesburg. Well, a few of you have made inputs and have been talking about that. Let me take a quick voice note on that before we move on to the next interview that we have lined up for you.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Good morning. How are you today? Thulasizwe, I was listening to your conversation regarding the relocation of the Taiwan consulate from Pretoria to Johannesburg. As a matter of interest, let me say it would be interesting to know what the difference is between the embassy and the consulate. Yeah, I would like to know. Okay, thanks, Mr. Ngobe. Bye-bye.
Mr. Ngobe, I'm no expert. Let me just put that disclaimer. But as far as I know, the embassy is the full political representation of a country in another country. So you'll find the embassies in Pretoria. Then you have consulates, which are about providing consular services. So things such as if I want to go to a country and I need to apply for a visa, the U.S. consulate, for example, is in Sandton. That's where I would go. So it's more administrative than anything else. So political embassy, administrative consular services, assisting locals and facilitating things such as those. The Taiwanese one is different because it's a Taiwanese liaison office. It's not an embassy. It's not a consulate. Of course, South Africa took that decision to strengthen diplomatic ties with the People's Republic of China versus the Republic of China, which is what Taiwan is called. That was taken back in the days in 1996.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
74 million rand in total estimated Powerball and Powerball Plus jackpots could be your ticket to the big millions this Tuesday. Play Powerball for an estimated 15 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 59 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Science of Life on SAFM.
A University of Pretoria professor is part of a global team whose new research estimates that 10,000 lives could be saved in South Africa alone if the government were to implement a strategy of banning cigarette sales to people born between 2006 and 2010, even when they become adults. The strategy, referred to as the endgame strategy would eliminate tobacco-induced lung cancer in people born between 2006 and 2010 across 185 countries. Let's welcome Professor Likan Ayo Yusuf, who is the head of UP's School of Health Systems and Public Health and the director of the National Council Against Smoking, who is part of the team researching this whole concept. Good morning to you, Prof. What is the end game strategy? Just explain it to us and how it would make a difference around issues of lung cancer.
Good morning to Thulasizwe and good morning to your listeners. So the end game comes from the opposite of tobacco control, which is basically persistently trying to limit people from using tobacco, different strategies, mostly in the WHO Framework Convention of Tobacco Control, which is the international treaty, and South Africa is a signatory to that treaty. So a couple of years ago, at the World Conference in Singapore, a couple of people, including myself, were thinking about how else to do something different from just controlling tobacco, which we've done for 100 years. What else can we do? And that's some of the conversation started as the end game to eliminate tobacco. So end game strategy is looking at all the social, cultural, and political dynamics that promote tobacco use. So it is not excluding all the provisions of the Framework Convention or tobacco law as we know them today. But in addition to that, is to eliminate a generation from being able to access tobacco use. And that's what we have stimulated because many countries have been thinking about this and been looking at potential health gains, but none has looked at potential deaths that could be saved. And we could only find 4 countries that have done this sort of simulation. So we decided to do this for the global world.
Prof, I don't know how different that strategy is really in terms of the cohort of people you are targeting, because as far as I understand, selling tobacco products to, you've said the group is from 2010, born between 2006 and 2010. I would say to you, it's already prohibited for that group from 2006 to 2009, and basically the only group that would fall within what you are saying would be the group born in that would have turned 18.
So correct. So just to make sure that we get this right, the current law would say you would not be able to buy cigarettes until you turn 19. So you cannot buy before 18. What the endgame strategy is saying is that even when you turn 19 or 20 or 30, you will still not be able to legally buy cigarettes because you were born between 2006 and 2010. In England, they've taken any child born from 2009 as at the time when the law would come to effect. So in other words, it becomes even easier because right now, the person selling to you would try to determine if you are 20 or if you are 17, and they would then ask for your ID. But if the strategy has been put in place, nobody will be able to buy cigarettes until you produce your ID. And if it shows you were born between 2009 or whatever year South Africa decides or any country decides, you would never be able to buy cigarettes.
To what extent did you take lessons learned during the hard lockdown when the sale of cigarettes was banned at various points intermittently, and what became a trend of a thriving black market in which some illicit products were being sold? To what extent did you factor all of those in to say even if you officially ban the sale of cigarettes to that cohort, chances are there will be an illicit market?
So indeed, we did consider that. Probably, if you look through the article, I did caution that the end game would require that these social and political dynamics also needs to be fixed before you can get this, the impacts of a strategy of this nature. So in other words, you still have to have a very strong tobacco control law as you have in New Zealand and Canada and England, in order to be able to move on to this next strategy. So we need to make sure that government controls illicit cigarettes, particularly understanding that most of the cigarettes come from tobacco industry because they're the same cigarettes that are manufactured from the factories. So how they get to evade tax or get to be round trips, because oftentimes they will be declared to be going out of the country, but then they drive them back through the borders, is what we need to fix, and that needs the South African Revenue Service to take things more seriously. And of course, you probably know that when the South African Revenue Service tried to introduce the cameras to watch the production, the tobacco industry took the South African revenues to court and they won. So we do know now that the industry are the ones actually letting out the cigarette unpaid tax, and that needs to be fixed for endgame to work. But importantly, you would have a reduced demand for those cigarettes once you put in place the strategy that you cannot legally buy cigarettes. So the number of people that cannot buy gets larger, and therefore the demand would naturally, reduce. But indeed, we need to put in place the other controls. Strategies.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Professor Lekan Ayo Yusuf, who is the head of the UP's School of Health Systems and Public Health, as well as the director of the National Council Against Smoking. Bringing us to 8:30, time for us to check in with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, more than 200 people have been evacuated in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality in the Eastern Cape due to flooding after torrential rains lashed the area overnight. The ANC Women's League Secretary General Nokuthula Nqaba has called on the mother body to recommit to its 60-40 gender parity principle. She's also called on women in the organization to support each other in their quest for leadership positions. And Republican candidate for next month's U.S. presidential election, Donald Trump, has again accused the Biden administration of diverting hurricane relief funds to assist migrants. Trump has not provided any evidence for his claim. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Our advice for motorists in the Nelson Mandela Bay area is just to avoid non-essential travel. It really is quite dire. If you could see what we're sort of seeing, you would be 100% agreeable that it's just too dangerous, too treacherous to get out. You may well drive down one road that's closed and flooded, reverse, go back the other way, and the next route is flooded as well. And there's still so much water to come down those already swollen and fast-moving rivers. It's a very dangerous, very treacherous situation from sort of Uitenhage down to Rebecca, out through Kariga, Motherwell, Addo Road as well, underwater at some subways. It really is very, very bad. So if it's not absolutely essential to travel, just stay put, stay indoors, stay safe is the most important thing, and travel out once the situation has subsided and normalised. Other issues that we're watching today, the closure of the N4 Schoeman's Kloof. There's a truck on its side there on the Mbombela side, but it's a full closure, so you'll be diverted down through Elands Valley. Truck crash at Protea Glen on the N12, still backing things up through there. The Mike one effectively joined up traffic. There's not too many gaps here between Boysons and Sandton, so if you're on your way up into that Sandton area from the south, factor in some pretty heavy delay time. Durban, earlier crash on the M4, the Reversed Highway at Mshlanga, still slowing traffic. That collision seen between the M4 and, the M41 and the Mshlanga Rocks Drive, so the M4 both ways being held by that. Cape Town, N1 into town, pretty heavy from Plattekloof Hill all the way through to the elevated freeway. Looks like it's going to take a while for that to clear this morning, and major delays getting out of Edgemead and Boerthusak with a crash on Bosmansdam Road earlier at Montague Drive in that Summer Greens area. Very busy route, so that's heavy. And also behind that, the N7 really badly backed up from Epping up through Goodwood, through the N1 for a turn into that heavily congested Bosmansdam Road off-ramp. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you once again, Zai. So it's a demolition and domination out in Dhaka.
A demolition. what? Domination in Dakar. I love the alliteration. Yo, I'm going to run with it.
I try.
You're a natural. I think this is how the Proteas are feeling right now. They have definitely got this in control, strengthening their position. First test against Bangladesh, and we are leading by 137 runs. At lunch, day 2, South Africa posted 243 for 8 after 71 overs. Kyle Verreynne anchoring the innings at 77, not out from 105 deliveries. He has been the standout performer today, helping South Africa recover after losing quick wickets. Now, Bangladesh's bowler, they fought hard, with Tajul Islam taking 5 for 93 and Hassan Mahmood adding 3 wickets for 51 runs. Proteas will be looking to build on this lead as they aim to put Bangladesh under pressure in their second innings. Soccer news. The South African champions, Banyana, will don a special pink kit when they face the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup finalists England in their international friendly match, all happening at the Coventry Building Society Arena next week, Tuesday. This is part of the South African football's campaign, Football Cares, a campaign designed to raise awareness about varied issues affecting South African society, where SAFA can lend a hand. The first initiative, in partnership with Pink Drive NPC, is designed to raise awareness of breast cancer in South Africa, promoting prevention and encouraging early detection. Moving on to more soccer news, Mamelodi Sundowns are maintaining their unstoppable start to the season, having won all 3 of their Betway Premiership matches so far, scoring 8 goals and conceding just 2. Coach Manqoba Ngqithi has quickly settled into his new role as they sit comfortably at the top of the table. Sundowns will face Royal AM tonight, looking to secure a 4th consecutive win. Meanwhile, Stellenbosch will visit Chippa United in Gqeberha after their hard-fought victory against AmaZulu, and that was in the Carling Knockout Cup. Elsewhere, Manchester United are gearing up for a highly anticipated Europa League showdown against Fenerbahce come Thursday, where manager Erik ten Hag will face off against a familiar face, former United boss Jose Mourinho. Mourinho now leads the Turkish club after his recent sacking by Roma, is one of football's most decorated managers, known for winning the Europa League and League Cup during his time at United. Ten Hag, whose United side have had a rocky start to the Europa League this season, says he's excited to go head-to-head with Mourinho, calling him an example for many managers. United are currently under pressure and will be looking to turn their fortunes around in Istanbul. And finally, golf. Tiger Woods is expected to make his TGL debut on the 14th of January. The new tech-infused indoor team golf league that was announced along with the full schedule for its inaugural season that will be held entirely in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. The 15-time major champion's first potential match will come in the second week of the season inside a venue that fits 1,500 fans wrapped around a field of playing, which will feature a 5-story high simulator screen and an adjustable putting surface. That's a wrap here on the Morning Brief Sport. We'll have more for you on SAFM around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
For that, let's turn to Ndauling Lechala. Ndauling, good morning to you once again. Why is JP Morgan upbeat about the interest for public listings in South Africa?
So it seems like it all has to do with the optimism around the election that we just had. So big financial institutions taking a closer look at emerging markets, particularly South Africa's stock market. And it seems like they're liking what they see. JP Morgan even raised its growth forecast for the country, expecting the economy to keep booming and encourage more companies to list on the stock exchange. This optimism, as mentioned, driven by what's been dubbed the new business-friendly government, which has led to a surge in asset prices across the board. Since June, the benchmark stock index has risen by over 20% in dollar terms, with the rand, stocks and bonds all performing well. The JSE is also seeing a significant uptick in IPOs this year after a few sluggish years. Several notable companies have listed recently, including We Buy Cars, a second-hand car retailer, psilocybin, a medicinal cannabis company, Rainbow, a chicken producer, as well as Powerfleet and Altvest, which listed on the JSE's AltX last week. Interestingly, some of these listings resulting from unbundling from parent companies or mergers. Investors are now eagerly awaiting the listing of Pick n Pay's Boxer and possibly an IPO offering from Coca-Cola. Overall, the outlook for South Africa's stock market is promising, with analysts expecting increased activity and investment in the coming months.
Yeah, in fact, you want to focus a bit more on the stock exchanges in South Africa. It's very easy to say the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, but there are other alternatives as well.
So South Africa's stock exchange landscape quite diverse to us, with 3 platforms for companies to list and raise capital. The JSE being the largest in the country and continent, and the most well-known, but 2 other exchanges, A2X and the Cape Town Stock Exchange, are also vying for business. Starting with A2X, they serve as an alternative exchange, offering a secondary listing platform for companies already listed on the JSE. This allows companies to improve liquidity by creating an additional trading hub. Recently, Anchor Stockbrokers listed on the A2X, bringing the total number of listed companies to over 173. The Cape Town Stock Exchange, formerly known as 4AX, launched in 2016. It's one of the more newer players in the field. It focuses on attracting smaller and medium-sized businesses that may not meet the JSE's requirements. The CTSE provides these companies with access to capital and growth opportunities, filling, that gap in the market, especially as we've seen an exodus of small cap stocks on the JSE. Currently, the CTSE has around 10 listings. Now, despite the presence of these alternative exchanges, this JSE still remains a fan fave, remaining the dominant player with over 270 listed companies.
All right, lastly, Ndauling, speaking of the JSE, talk to us about what kind of a trading day we can expect there, as well as other markets, Asia and the United States.
Local markets in for another mixed day of trade. That's as investors take a wait-and-see approach, eyeing a big market-moving catalyst. In local news, financial and wealth management company Sasfin is out with earnings this morning. Not much of a market mover, but one to watch considering the scrutiny it's been under. Now, taking a look at the rand, it's holding steady at 17.58 to the dollar. Over in the US, futures in negative territory ahead of Alphabet's third quarter earnings. And then in Asia, stocks mostly in the red as caution takes hold of markets this week. Traders in that region eyeing its next catalyst, including Japanese inflation figures as well as a rates decision from the Bank of Japan.
All right, thank you for that, Ndauling Lichela. Have yourself a great day. Ndauling has been watching the economy, business, as well as the markets for you throughout the morning here on The Morning Brief.
Great news, travellers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Windhoek twice a week from only 1,800 Rand. So whether you're sealing the deal on a business trip or exploring Namibia's breathtaking natural beauty, we've got you covered with affordable flights every Tuesday and Saturday. From the Skeleton Coast to the Fish River Canyon and more. Get ready to explore with FlySafair. Book now at flysafair.co.za. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
At 17 minutes to 9, we want to bring you this developing story. You've heard Rob Byrne reporting on it consistently throughout the morning, the flooding situation in Gqeberha and Kariega. Let's just give you an update on that situation. We are joined by Shadrach Sibiya, who is the Acting Executive Director, Safety and Security at Nelson Mandela Bay. Good morning to you, Mr. Sibiya. I've got to thank you for your time. So we're seeing quite a number of areas being mentioned as being in the epicenter of this flooding, but from your perspective, give us a sense of how dire the situation is this morning.
Good morning. What currently is happening, we have drains which actually have blocked, and that actually affects the roads which actually have now flooded. We have the streets as well as some houses which have flooded currently. And we have people that we have actually had to take to safe centers like halls, churches, and any other area where we actually want to keep them safe and provide them with the bare necessities.
Just tell me about the parts of the area of Gqeberha and Kariega that have been most affected.
We have all around Gqeberha. We have the Kariega.
Yeah.
And we can actually state that we have in Kariega we have the Dr. Brown. It's an area which is for informal settlement, and those people have actually been affected and also evacuated.
And I saw areas like Kwanobuhle also being mentioned.
Yes, and some bridges. One of the bridge was affected in the previous flood of the 1st of June.
Yeah. So in terms of impact on lives, what are you hearing at the moment? Are you hearing of any people that have been injured or even, lost their lives?
The loss of life, we haven't heard of such currently, but we are currently in a job which is running, and the SAPS were still saying something unconfirmed about a person that needed a serious help. Either they drowned somewhere or so, but I cannot confirm that.
Yeah, I understand that. It still needs to be confirmed through follow-throughs from the SAPS and others. But in terms of damage, what does it look like? You mentioned the bridge that you're saying was affected, but in terms of people's homes, at what level is this water physically, if you can describe for us?
The simple statement would be that it is not livable. The water has flooded some homes which are on an informal area, and they cannot continue to live. And if you say even their beds are wet, it can actually tell you how high the water is.
And what is your advice as the municipality for people who find themselves caught up? I heard Rob Byrne saying that if you can help it, don't travel this morning out of these areas in Gqeberha. But in terms of accessing the help and assistance that you are talking about, people being moved to halls and schools and the likes, what do people who are caught up in this flood need to be doing at this moment?
Those who are caught up, they just need to call for help, and we would assist them. If you can help, like Robin has said, don't travel, don't move out if wherever you are is safe. But if you need to travel, exercise caution and make sure that you look and be careful of where you cross. However small the water may look, it could be that it's a hole, and you try to cross that water, you find yourself in trouble. So try and exercise caution.
And in terms of capacity for these areas to which we are moving people, how are you looking? Are they filling up at the moment, and you still have more space to place people as you are evacuating them out of harm's way?
We seem to have more than enough space to accommodate these people. The challenge that we may have is the traveling towards those areas, because even a fire truck last night has actually stuck in the mud. So sometimes you want to help, but you don't have sometimes necessary resources to actually assist those who are trapped.
All right, let's leave it there. We'll continue to touch base with you. That's Shadrach Sibiya, who is Acting Executive Director, Safety and Security at Nelson Mandela Bay, talking about the flooding situation that is playing itself out at the moment in that municipality and also in Kariaga.
The SAFM University Debate Challenge will be taking over the Western Cape. Join us for the 1 hour debate on This Week Today with Oliver Dixon from 6 to 7 p.m. on Friday, the 25th of October 2024 at the SABC Cape Town M1 Studios, where the University of Cape Town will be taking on the University of the Western Cape in what promises to be a nail-biting debate. The SAFM University Debate Challenge is an independent, non-partisan progressive initiative seeking to develop confident communicators, critical thinkers, and empowered global citizens. RSVP to info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Top story remains the dire situation around Nelson Mandela Bay and particularly around the Rebecca region, Kariga as well. Routes like the old Udeneg Road that go through Bethelsdorp remaining closed, quite extensive closures there. Closures of a section of the Addo Road as well out through Motherwell. Some fairly severe flooding in the Udeneg area, so please travel only if absolutely essential. The rivers are swollen, fast flowing and a very, very dangerous situation around the Nelson Mandela Bay region. The N4 Skubans Kloof is closed until further notice. Big truck on its side. You'll be diverted along the N4 Elands Valley section as your alternative route between Mashadadorp and Mbombela. Joburg side today, the N3 queuing up towards the Edenvale exit from Giluli's up towards Modderfontein Road is heavy. The N12 and R24, it's in from the east, still badly backed up into Giluli's. Truck crash on the N12 at Protea Glen. That's still causing quite big backlogs both directions. And Durban, we've been tracking a delay this morning on the M4, the Ruth First Highway, with a crash in the central Mshlanga area between the M41 and Mshlanga Rocks Drive. Is quite slow still in that area. It's well off its heaviness, but it's slow. The M2 South in Under Road down to Spaghetti Junction, that remaining jam-packed. Probably a breakdown, I would think, in the roadworks, and a breakdown on your way to Pietermaritzburg before Market Road, causing quite a heavy backlog from as far back as Ashburton. Looks like it's going to take a while for Cape Town traffic to get through the city centre this morning. I think we're probably looking at post 10 a.m. Traffic flow still. The N1 from Plattekloof Hill, the N2 from Langa, the M5 at Kenilworth, and the N7 going north remains a problem from Goodwood all the way through to Bosmansdam Road. A crash on Bosmansdam Road at Montague Drive, badly snarling up traffic out of Boortesak, out of Edgemead, across into Summer Greens and Montague Gardens Canal Walk. And because Bosmansdam's so heavy, the N7 really badly backed up. Be worth avoiding that one if you possibly can. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
Eskom has made it easy for you to recode your meter. Customers must recode meters by 24 November 2024. All Eskom customers are reminded to recode their prepaid meters before 24 November 2024. If your meter is not recoded, it will not accept legally bought prepaid electricity tokens. Eskom has made this process easy for you. We have pre-coded all meters and they are ready for you to recode your meter yourself. To do this, go to any Eskom approved electricity outlet and buy an electricity credit token. Our teams are on standby to help you.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086.
All right, let me take a few of the voice notes that have been coming through since we started this morning, and also hopefully take one or two of your calls before the end of the hour. Let's start with comments on the issue of Taiwan, the Taipei Liaison Office moving from Pretoria to Johannesburg as per the DIRCO directive.
Morning, sir. The embassy of Taiwan in Pretoria never bothered anybody for so many years. I think your assessment is right. I think they're under pressure from China. So in other words, we're no longer a sovereign country. And the South African government recognizes Palestine, but it doesn't want to recognize Taiwan. That's double standards. Cape Town.
Vince, I hear you, but you will find few countries that actually recognize Taiwan. They are there. I'm not saying they're not there. They are. But South Africa has been clear in terms of the actual diplomatic ties, switching, as I said earlier on in the presidency of Nelson Mandela, from diplomatic ties with the Republic of China, which is Taiwan, to the People's Republic of China, which is China as you know it. In fact, let me stay on that theme. Let me play another one that has to do with that issue.
There is no doubt whatsoever that the South African government is cringing obsequiously before the trade might of communist China, who is using their military might to bully the Taiwanese people into submission to communist government. Shame on us.
All right, strong views there expressed on that issue. I can't take it any further. I'm noting there's an input that has to do with the issue of land. I wonder what that is all about. I find it quite interesting. Let's take a listen to it.
Morning to us, Sunday the KZN. With this thing of land, distribution of land, will it be given to household or individuals or cooperatives or organizations? Which land will be expropriated? Urban or rural land? Farmland, mining, residential? Which land would be expropriated? Please assist me on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish I could, Sandile, but I hear the point you are asking about expropriation. As far as I can remember, there was an expropriation bill that was being processed in Parliament, in the last Parliament. And that is separate from the earlier attempts to amend the Constitution to provide for expropriation of land without compensation. You and I will remember that floundered before Parliament. But I don't know the details of whether you are asking about the expropriation bill, but I suppose that will be spelled out in terms of the circumstances under which expropriation can be undertaken. And I know it's a vague answer. It's the best that I can give you at the moment. But I do hope that in future you can give me a bit more detail, then maybe we can take that conversation forward in a more structured manner. Let's take a few that have to do with Eskom. We've focused on the recoding of prepaid meters as well as the tariff increase that Eskom is asking for this morning.
Thulasizwe, I'm in Tagatayo in Cape Town. On this meter reprogramming, that thing is not even helping, because we've told Eskom long time, we're not trying to be unfair, but if we want to just have some collection of money, they must visit each and every household that is having an electricity to make sure that if the box is still working in order, because there are those is in yoga. So it's not going to help. It's only for those people.
No, it will be interesting how it all plays out. Eskom, of course, does say that there's a certain standard that they need to adhere to, and that is a requirement that all prepaid meters need to adhere to that specific standard. Hence, the need for you to recode your prepaid meter.
Thulasizwe, this Eskom upgrade of the prepaid, how does it affect people who are buying electricity from the municipalities? Is it the responsibility of municipalities to do that? Are they authorized to do that, or should they also run around, go to Eskom? Because they don't deal directly with Eskom.
I don't want to pretend like I have the expertise, but what I do know is that Eskom says there are about 6.9 million Eskom directly supplied customers who are on prepaid. But you are absolutely right. We will need absolute clarity from suppliers at municipal levels, so such as City Power. My understanding is that City Power customers also need to do this, but don't hold me to account for that. We will seek that clarity and ensure that you are clear about your responsibility if you are supplied by City Power as opposed to Eskom. Let me take one on the issue of spaza shops and regulations, as well as the recent incidents of poisoning that have occurred after children bought food either from spaza shops or vendors just outside schools.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Good morning to the SAFM listeners. Thulasizwe, I'd like to think we as South African, we need to apply pressure so that government can strengthen the regulations with regards to the spaza shops because it can't be business as usual while people are dying because of consuming poisonous substances from these spaza shops. Segwanele Kupega from Pretoria.
I cannot argue with you at all. It is time for regulation to be strengthened. We can't keep lamenting and people are dying from consuming food that is contaminated, and we do what I call paralysis by analysis. We all know and can identify where the problems are coming from, but no one is doing anything about it in terms of strengthening regulation. So hopefully we will start seeing that being stepped up. Let me take a call from George, who is in East London. George, you wanted to talk about the same issue, the issue of spaza shops. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Very well.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, there have been a lot of cases regarding consumables from spaza shop. So what I think what's practical now and realistic is just to give instruction that spaza shops for the time being should be allowed to sell consumable. They can sell other products except consumable. So for the inspectors it will be simple. There's no need to look for the expiry date. They come in there, they find consumable, then you are penalized until further notice, until they get to the bottom of things.
By consumables, you mean everything that is food?
Yes, they can sell soap, they can sell, I mean, it's costing people's lives. Not forever, but temporarily.
I hear you, George.
Until they get to the bottom of it, then they can, release that restriction.
I hear you, George. Thank you for calling this morning. That is George in East London. I don't know about that particular suggestion and how practical it would be in implementation. That's how we come to the end of today's edition of the Morning Brief. Thank you for staying with us. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana is up next here on SAFM after the news. Essential cover from Outsurance pays out claims in cash, allowing you to choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43187 now.
In our top stories, residents evacuated following Eastern Cape floods, and Action SA demands answers after being blocked from entering Sebokeng Hospital. Good morning. More than 200 people have been evacuated in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality in the Eastern Cape due to flooding after torrential rains lashed the area overnight. The evacuation started early this morning. People are being housed in various community halls. Acting Executive Director for Safety and Security in the Metro, Shedrick Sibiya, says disaster management teams are on the ground coordinating relief efforts.
We are expecting more evacuations, as I said, and we just got some more resources in the form of trucks that would assist us because some of the light vehicles cannot access certain areas, so we are continuing to evacuate people.
Meanwhile, numerous roads in the metro are closed or impassable due to localized flooding. There are also concerns about the condition of the bridge over Kreis River on the Rocklands Road leading to Kariga. Albi Sablé is from humanitarian organization Gift of the Givers.
The areas, of course,